Much better. Yeah, God. All right, we are live. Hey, welcome everyone back to another Basement Radio Arcade podcast. On a fabulous Wednesday night, I got my voice back. I don't sound like Louis Armstrong this week singing "What a Wonderful Life." So I hate to disappoint those who were coming back to Brap this week to hear me do my rendition of that song. Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen this week. But happy to be back. Happy to be feeling better. As a matter of fact, it's good to, like I said, have my voice back and be able to scream at my kids when they're acting up. Couldn't do that last week. They kind of took advantage of that, but that's okay. But guys, we have a great show for everyone this evening. We got a lot to talk about, actually. A lot of Xbox news, a lot of Sony news. Hey, a lot of late-breaking Xbox news, as a matter of fact. We have some rumors to talk about as it relates to a big Xbox Microsoft franchise that could be going to another platform. Say it ain't so, Mooch. Say it ain't so.
It may be so. It may be so.
Yeah, and
Find out tonight.
Maybe
so.
Find out tonight. Hey, but with that, with that introduction, Mooch, welcome back to Brap, man. It's great to have you back.
It's great to be back. You know, it's funny, me and you, Enrique, we talk a lot behind the scenes, and it's difficult, man, you know, with just life stuff going on and this and that. But I'll tell you something. Great to be here, and I'm almost glad we postponed it till tonight. There's so much news. So
you know what? It actually worked out, man. It really did, because there's a lot to talk about. Sure.
It's 3-4 times the news the last Wednesday. I'm excited, buddy. Believe me. I can't wait to get into it.
Yeah, last Wednesday would have been bad, man. Like I said, I sound like Louis Armstrong. It just would have gone downhill from there. But anyhow, we have the usual suspects. We got B Money. B, what is going on, my man?
Hey, man, what's happening? Another great Wednesday, man. So I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, me too, B. B, I'm interested in getting some of your perspectives, your thoughts on the 12 teraflop beast, known as the Xbox Anaconda. We'll talk about that later on. We also have making his return. We got Eric Jackson in the house. E, what's going on, man?
I'm chilling, man. I'm happy to be back. I know I missed last week. You know, life comes at you fast, man. Sometimes you just gotta answer the door when it comes knocking.
Well, E, you were actually on a fishing trip on your yacht, so I don't blame you, man.
Yeah, I might sell the yacht, man.
You gotta sell the yacht.
Yeah, man. Kids these days, you know, for Christmas they don't want hobby horses and tricycles, man. They want Beats, Jordans.
Isn't it funny when we watch some of these Christmas shows that are out right now, guys, right? Like you see all this stuff that's going on, like the old Rudolph and the old Frosty. And they see the kids opening up like this rocking horse. Right. Can you imagine what that Christmas morning might be like if you – here you go, kids. Like literally you'd be dodging a wooden little rocking horse at your head.
Your kid's like, what is this shit?
What is that?
your kid would cuss you out
on Christmas.
It's like, where's the USB jack? Where do I plug it in?
Where's the USB? Dad, why? Wait, there's no Apple logo on this. What is this, Dad?
Where's the app for this horse?
Where's the app?
Where's the wheels, man?
I can't download anything on the horse. What the hell, Dad?
You're like, Dad, Jordan makes hobby horses now?
Yeah, you know what's crazy is that I saw who's that? I think it's Imran Khan, or I think that's his name. He's part of Kind of Funny. He tweeted out, make sure, he said, parents, if you're giving your kids a console this holiday, make sure you take it out of the box and do all the updates before you give it to them on Christmas. Because
I saw that.
Yeah, I'm like, that's
actually yearly advice that like tech heads, like tech YouTubers and stuff give to parents buying like consoles and everything else. Because
Yeah, but you know none of us can get that packaging back in the box and make the tape look real. You think these kids are stupid? You can't say there's a North Pole and all of a sudden the tape's on the wrong side. It's got that crinkle in the tape. I got news for you. If you guys are giving Mooch a birthday present, I see crinkle in the tape. I know it's not new. Okay? These kids know what's going on. I got news for you. You're better off. Here's what you're better off doing. Let it stay new. This is Mooch advice for Christmas. Let it stay new. Set it up with the kids. Let them go through the pain and misery we did when we were kids. Go through that setup. It takes hours because everybody's downloading it at the same time. In the meantime, you hang out as a family.
Yeah. But
there you go.
Mooch, you know when they were giving
That's
that
a good
advice
point.
for real, though, is when Lizard Squad was like at their height.
Right. That
and
is
they were
true.
saying like you.
They haven't stopped, E. They haven't stopped. That was like 4 years ago.
They're ruining Christmas like the Grinch, man. Just the breaking consoles.
They're
I'm telling you guys, you see that crinkled tape? Okay, this isn't a grab bag.
Santa's elves opening your gifts.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
First thing I look for is that tape.
The tape's a little off. Something's wrong.
The minute that tape's off, I know that's not coming from right from the factory. I'm out.
Oh man, that is too funny.
True story.
Yeah, too funny. All right, Joe, let's get to the topics tonight because, like I said, we got a lot to talk about. I want to talk about a couple of Sony related things. Let's jump on the MLB thing because that caused quite a little bit of a ruckus this week. I know. I'm assuming most everyone in the live chat and those that are listening know this, but if you don't, Major League Baseball actually announced a new deal with Sony for Sony to renew the rights, the license, basically, for MLB The Show. So, but there's a little bit of twist to this now. So, MLB The Show will now be coming to Xbox and Switch. And so, as you guys, like me, if you're on Twitter, you guys saw the outcry, the anger, the rage by even some of my fellow YouTubers. I was kind of surprised over this announcement. And look, by all stretch of the imagination, guys, this is not Jim Ryan's doing. I see people saying, "Oh, this is Jim Ryan. It's his fault. He's ruining Sony." No. MLB Communications tweeted this out that MLB and the MLB Players Union, Sony San Diego, and at PlayStation announced a multi-year, multi-platform video game partnership extension. So basically what that means is the deal was up. And the terms of the deal were like, hey, you know what, guys? If you guys, meaning Sony, if you guys aren't going to release this game multi-plat, you guys aren't going to have the rights to the license
Enrique,
and all that.
if you want to get mad, don't get mad at Jim Ryan. You want to get mad at Rob Manfred.
Yes.
Okay?
The commissioner.
And nobody knows who Rob Manfred is. It's the commissioner of baseball.
I know. Listen, I don't.
We were talking about this behind the scenes. But the thing about it is that this is one of those situations where you got to remember something. There was a bit of an avalanche here. A lot of things happened all at once that we saw a little abnormal out of Sony's camp. So this was kind of the icing on the cake, which I don't blame people for kind of being, taking a step back. But, MLB is having a hard time in this country. This is kind of a side discussion. And listen, you happen to be talking, and I can't speak for E or B right now, but I can speak for Enrique and myself because we just talk a lot of baseball. Like, baseball is my favorite sport. I do love football, but baseball is my favorite sport. And let me tell you something. Baseball's hurting, okay? And when I say hurting, I mean financially, it's hurting. Just watch an Atlanta Braves game sometime around June 16th, and you can count on two hands all the people in the stands, okay? So my point being here is that when this contract was up, I'm pretty sure, it's not like I was in the boardroom. I should have been in the boardroom, but I wasn't. And one of the things I'm pretty sure came up was they were like, we want that Madden money. And, MLB said, listen, just like we allow EA, Madden allows EA to make the game and then they distribute it across all platforms. They said, if you want the rights and you want to make it, they're going to make 60, 70% on this bad boy. You get to produce it, you get to make it, but it's going to get distributed everywhere. Listen, it's kind of a win-win because what's Sony right now? Sony's been at the boardroom table with Phil and company, kind of having to bend over backwards to get Minecraft. So now it's like, now Sony's picking up the phone and be like, hey, guys, you guys have been talking about baseball for a while. You really want it? Because I got one. And now it's on their terms. So, but Major League Baseball is who's really, I wouldn't use the words to blame, but are the ones that push this narrative and push this concept moving forward. And that's how Sony was able to lock down the rights to this again and be able to keep making that game. So, realistically, it was kind of an avalanche, Enrique. That's what I'm saying here. A lot of things happened in the past few days that seemed like it was a little out of Sony's element, and this looked like it was really the topping on the cake. And don't get me wrong, it is a major change. I get that. You're getting something that was for ages, was a PlayStation exclusive, and now it's going to be a multi-plat, but it will be made by PlayStation still, and you'll still get that same quality. And now, actually, believe it or not, Major League Baseball makes more money, and so does Sony.
Yeah, and Sony's not going to give up. You got to think about the revenue they get from that game, the revenue they get from microtransactions. They're not just going to give that up. No. I mean, they're a business. They're in the business to make money.
It's one of the only games that they make microtransactions on. So there's no way in hell they was giving that up.
Right.
It's a great point.
Exactly.
Yeah. And now they just, smart business decision. Now they just open up that pool of individuals, or they could do more microtransactions. Basically, now they can make more money.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing that kills me. Like, people are just up in arms about this, and I don't understand. It's so trivial to me how people are upset, angry at Sony. It's like, what I don't understand, guys, is how does any of this, let's say for argument's sake, for shits and giggles, Sony says, you know what, we're gonna start releasing all first party games on PC, right? I wouldn't care. In fact, actually, for me as a PC gamer now, PC Master Race, I would have. Oh, Mooch, I'm telling you, man, I'm loving PC gaming, man.
Listen, I love that you love it. I love that you love it because I have a PC, and if it wasn't for you, Enrique, I don't know if I'd use it nearly as much. So I'm glad you're kind of getting me into it a little bit more. So
I'm telling you,
continue.
Man,
I'm excited.
It's. I'm playing Sekiro right now, and I played Sekiro on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One X, and I'm telling you, man, wow, just a different experience. And I
controller or keyboard?
Control, yeah, definitely control. Yeah. And I'm playing, at on max settings, locked 60 frames a second, and the combat's just night and day. It really is. I mean, you can tell the controls are so much more responsive. I feel like I'm a Sekiro pro. I'm like, wait a minute, like I did not play like this when I was playing on console. So anyhow.
It is it's completely different. It's day and night, and I mean it's something you have to. It's one of those things. It's kind of like VR, right? And I'm sure we'll get into that tonight too. But it's kind of like VR. It's one of those things you have to experience before you say, don't knock it till you try it.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever you do, God forbid.
Yeah, but back to back to the thing with the community. Like I was shocked to see some of the outrage and the people even tweeting Sean Layden, Sean, we need you back. I'm just like, how is this? This is one deal, and everyone's assuming, oh well, now Sony's going to start releasing. Well, because now Horizon Zero Dawn, there's that. I don't know if that was confirmed or not. There's that rumor that it's going to be released on PC, whatever the case is.
Right.
And so people are kind of up in arms about that, and now Jim Ryan is diluting the brand and yada yada yada, and I'm like, I guess my question is like, what happened to like gaming, I always thought the purpose of gaming was to just play games, and it didn't matter where you played those games as long as you had access to fun or good quality content. That's all that mattered. But I don't understand this mindset and this anger of, F Sony. I'm done with them. I'm not going to support them anymore because I've seen that from people on Twitter that are angry, and I just don't get it. To me, that is not what gaming's about.
I think here's the thing though, but over the years of doing this, and there's two ways to look at it. There's what you just said, Enrique, and the way that we grew up and the way we kind of, games, we should just be happy that games are around and accessible for everybody. But then there's the other side of it too. I like to, like me and E were talking about this before the show. That's passion. It is. It's passion, and you look at it this way. Nobody likes to bring up sports, but I will. Okay. There's a lot of people when you got one of your favorite players on your team, okay, and all of a sudden he goes to another team, all of a sudden out of nowhere you're kind of like you're a little resentful, you're a little resentful, and you get angry, and then all of a sudden even if you got the jersey, you're like, I'm not wearing that jersey. It's got his name on it, right? Meanwhile, you pay $200, right? You pay $200 for the official, or $300, $400, $500 for the official jersey, hand stitched. You won't even wear it because it's got the guy's name on it, and he left your team, right? But what happens after a year? You put the jersey on. You're like, that thing cost me $350.
Right.
I'm wearing the jersey, right? It's still got my team on it. Who cares where he went, right? So my point being is that this is passion in the community. You got to let people express themselves. I get that. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you have to look at what we're talking. What are the two scenarios we're talking about right now with PlayStation? We're talking about Horizon Zero Dawn possibly going to PC. That's after, 2 years after it comes out? Sony, I've always said this. That's why I still think Sony's got a good head on their shoulders here. They're double dipping, right? They release the game on console, let everybody buy it, and then they'll release it on PS Now or they'll release it on PC, and they'll double dip. And it gives a reason for the PS5, and it gives a reason for people on PC or other devices to enjoy that content as well. But it gives a reason for everybody who purchased into that ecosystem a reason to own that hardware. So I get that. And then you have Major League Baseball, like we just said, where that was MLB that made that move. You know, you want to keep the license. This is what we're mandating. And Sony's not going to let that license go. You know, I mean, especially when they're going to be they'll be actually the shareholder in that. They're going to be making the game. They're going to make more money than anybody else on that game.
Yeah.
So, you know, realistically, when it comes down to it, I don't think Sony did anything that's really outside of their lane. It kind of happened 2-3 things in a row. And it looks like they're changing or modifying their course. Yes, maybe by Horizon Zero Dawn going to PC, sure. Or God of War going to PS Now, sure. But these are older titles. They've had their time and they're in the sun on the PlayStation. So, you know, that's just a business move, and it's a smart move. So I don't really see anything really crazy. Now, when you start to see God of War 2, Horizon Zero 2 going to PC day and date, well, now we have to come back to Brap. We've got to have another discussion. You know, but we're not there yet.
But even if go ahead. What's by the way? What is going on, Slow-Mo? How are you today, sir?
Hey, how's it going? How's it going, guys? Sorry, I'm a little late. You know, family things going on. But I just wanted to say, like, in regards to Horizon Zero Dawn, like it's still in the rumor category until Sony comes out and either officially addresses it and say it ain't happening, or look, it is happening. But what I really want to say about it is how is it happening? Because if it's going to end up being on PC because PS Now is on PC and it's going into PS Now, that's one thing. If it's going to be natively on PC where you're going to get it through like the Epic Game Store,
Steam
or something like that, like you can get Detroit Become Human, then that's a whole nother story. Or Death Stranding, that's a whole different story entirely. But still, it's still a game that it's still coming out almost 3 years after the game launched. So it's like, this is not even for people to go from 0 to 1,000 with like, screw Sony, F all of these guys. Jim Ryan, if I ever see you in person, watch out. Like, I mean, like all that stuff. Like, first of all, you need to kind of check yourself. You can't be recklessly out here saying, you know, don't catch me. Don't let me catch you in person. Like, you may be in your feelings and you may be putting on a show for people, but that can be taken like literally, and you could be, you know, people can come after you. So like, especially with, you know, someone being a public figure, so you might want to slow your roll on that. Hey,
Slow-Mo, you never know. Jim Ryan might open up a can of whoop ass on you. He might be like,
you never know. Like,
Jim put them hands on you.
Jim might be, you know, a black belt, you know, Brazilian jiu-jitsu like master. We don't know.
Man, Jim looked like he don't play.
Yeah,
he looked like a Second Amendment kind of man. You know what I mean? you know, like he got his concealed carry with him all the time. So like he almost like, you know, I wish someone would.
I see the person at E3 jail, like, why he dislocated your elbow like that? Like, cause I didn't like the moves he made with PlayStation. So I tried.
So I stepped to him and he stepped back.
It's like, I don't know, man. I poked him in his chest, and next thing I know, you know.
Oh my goodness.
What's up, Luca? She greeted me with an F Slow-Mo.
How is what's going on, Luca? Oh man, that's too funny. Yeah, man, that's kind of what I was you know, really, Slow-Mo, what you were saying is really kind of what I was hitting at, that, you know, at the end of the day, a lot of this stuff is inconsequential to anyone, really. Doesn't impact, I think,
comes back to the time frame though, Enrique, and that's what Slow-Mo's kind of getting at.
Yeah, no, I understand
for apples, right? It's 2 years out that Horizon Zero Dawn may, it's a rumor, may go to PC. And then you have the other situation with like Detroit Become Human. Again, another 2 years, year and a half have gone by. that's the essence of business to double dip, and Sony's still doing that.
Death Stranding is like 8 or 9 months.
Yeah, 8 or 9 months. And listen, you can see sales have already, they kind of peaked. But listen, video games are a lot like movies. You know, when we all go see these blockbuster movies, yes, you have a few like in Infinity, what is it there? Infinity War, Endgame. That those kind of carried their weight for 6 weeks, 7 weeks, top of the blockbuster charts, right? But most movies, after 2 weekends in the box office, then they drop, right? So video games have that 4-week appeal too, and then they drop off. So exactly like Slow-Mo saying, 8, 9, 12 months afterwards, Death Stranding goes to PC. It's already worn its welcome out on PlayStation. Everybody who owns a PlayStation has that game. That game will already be $30 by then on PlayStation. So that's all. You know what I mean? They squeezed that orange. They got all the juice out. They're good. Right. Now it's going to PC, and now they can double dip. So that's a good business move, and nobody really should have any issue with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually for them, it's reaching a different market because anyone who would have bought it on PlayStation that has a PC already did. They're PC gamers who also will own PlayStation 4s for Sony exclusives. If they wanted that game on PS4, they would have already bought it. And then you got those who aren't going to buy consoles who may pick it up. So when it comes out on PC in September of next year, it's literally it's going to be sales from mostly people who would not have purchased the game at all,
right?
Because they don't have they had no opinion or no, they weren't going to do so on the PS4. Didn't have one, so it's this, and this is all this stuff is consistent with what Jim Ryan, even Sean Layton before he left, have been saying. We're going to do this. People just kind of they've been in that console war bubble where they just like they only hear and see they only hear and see whatever makes their argument sound better in the moment when they're arguing with the other side. They don't want to hear all the other parts. Like Sean Layton, remember Sean Layton earlier this year had that real long interview. It was like, I can't remember who it was with. It may have been Eurogamer. It could have been The Verge. I can't remember who it was. But it was like earlier, sometime in the spring. He had this really, really long interview. And I noticed that the PlayStation community were quoting and had screenshots of all the parts that they liked from the interview. Mm-hmm. But then the other side had all the quotes that they liked from the interview, and they were the complete opposite quotes. And if the PlayStation community looked at what those other quotes were, they would not be so shocked right now with anything that's happening at this moment, because he pretty much told you a lot of the stuff that they're doing. Right. It's just, yeah. Open your eyes, man.
And crossplay,
it's almost like, I'm sorry, Ricky.
No, I was just gonna say crossplay isn't unfamiliar territory to Sony. They did it last console generation. So that's not new for them. Neither is cloud. If you think about cloud, I mean, they bought Gaikai, and that was way before this console generation. Mm-hmm. So I mean, they're not, a lot of the stuff they're doing isn't necessarily new either. So go ahead.
No, it's not. No, I was just gonna say, like, to add on like what Slow-Mo was saying, it's like when someone's been away, like they've been away in war, for 5-6 years, right? They haven't been like in their region, wherever they grew, but they come back and everything is kind of moved on, but their mindset is still in the war. And that's all they can see is the war. That's that's what these guys are motivated by, and I'm saying just kind of sit back and wait to see where the whole thing falls out. But to have this reaction off of like these couple of announcements, it still does not affect you as a fan of a platform. They haven't really changed anything.
Doesn't affect them at all. Like take any of this. Horizon Zero Dawn is, you already played the game. You already played it and platinumed it. Mm-hmm. How is it releasing on PC affecting you? How is MLB The Show being multi-plat affecting you? You could say the argument that potentially that the Sony San Diego studio is not capable of having enough resources to make this a multi-plat. Putting it on the Switch, on the Xbox, on the PC, you can make that argument, but then you're also discounting or not even giving Sony the opportunity to ramp the studio up for something like that. If you're going to go multi-plat, for a game, for a AAA game, and you're not just have it on one platform anymore. You're going to need to hire more people, get more resources in. That will then scale up and then allow you to be able to accomplish that goal. But people just automatically assume, no, it's going to make the game worse, and it's just like, you don't know that. We have to stop pretending like we're business executives that have all this business.
Oh no, slow-mo. I have a lot of business acumen. Let me tell you, I took online classes, man. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Let me tell you, I have a lot of acumen when it comes to running Fortune 500 companies from the comfort of my own house.
I'll have you know that I am on The Sims. I am a major business CEO, and in The Sims, I'm running things. Okay, so I know what I'm doing here.
Do you know
it's not gonna fly? It's not gonna fly because I mean, I can see in the Sony executive meeting they're discussing these moves that they're gonna make, and somebody says, whoa, we can't do this because Xbox One Slayer is gonna be pissed off that we're making this move.
What?
Right.
Why do you say Xbox One Slayer?
He's a PlayStation fan. He's the Xbox One Slayer. So he's going to be highly upset that we're doing this and we don't have his back in this war. He's going to be mad.
Oh, my gosh.
We can't do this to him. Think about Xbox One Slayer. You got to think about him.
Oh, my God. All right.
OBJ is hilarious.
Yeah, OBJ's like, I went to DeVry. Big shout out to OBJ.
All that knowledge, fixing those air conditioners allows me to tell you what Sony's going to do.
Oh boy! All right.
No, I mean, if I can.
Oh, here we go.
What about it? I mean, that's all it comes down to. Is like these dudes. They want the ammo to be able to go back and forth with people, and all this does is moves the chess piece off the table.
Yeah, right. That's all it is.
It's just become more rampant because of social media.
If
you talk to anybody, you know what I mean, in your office or wherever you work, or you know what I mean, just your normal friends that aren't really into social media and being fanboys and whatnot, like they could care less about any of this shit. Like they don't even know about any of this.
Yeah, most of my friends who game don't know anything about this.
No, I send debates and arguments to my boys all the time who are not at all involved in Twitter, social media. And they're like, this is not real. Like, you're photoshopping these and you're sending them to us. I'm like, no, I'm not. This is people.
Yeah. This is people. Yeah. I feel like I don't want to see real gamers, but like, Mooch, when you and I talk about video games, we talk about like gameplay mechanics. Do we like the story? To me,
how we review a game is, how are the mechanics? How was the story? Yeah. Did it progress from the last one? Have we moved forward? Is it worth my money? You know what I mean? Like that's what most people really care about. And getting back to what B was just talking about, he kind of made a good point. I mean, I have some extremely casual friends that are gamers, right? They don't game. They don't know anything about the world that we discuss. They don't care. It's not their wheelhouse. That's fine. But like the one thing that's for certain is that they're definitely not going to go. They wouldn't even know that Horizon Zero Dawn is on PC or going to PC or rumored to go to PC, right? They'd have no idea. If they were going to get Horizon Zero Dawn, they would go get it for the PlayStation. They don't know anything. They wouldn't know where to even. If I said Steam, what are you talking about? Like they don't even right. So you got to remember what the casual market is really like kind of leaning towards. They don't really, and if the casual market is playing on Steam, which there's a lot of people on PC. But they're playing like Untitled Goose Game, okay? They're not playing Horizon Zero Dawn. They're not playing Death Stranding. Could you see a casual going from, I've been playing Madden and I've been playing Call of Duty for the past 12 years. I think I'm going to get into Death Stranding. That Kojima really, I read an article. I think I'm going to try this out. No! That will never be said. Like, so yeah, a lot of the stuff we talk about really doesn't hit the casual market at all, to be honest with you. At all.
No, it doesn't. It really doesn't. So
Lucas said it best the other day, man. Like, be careful how you go off on these tangents and rants off of like the raw emotion.
That's true.
Like this, because you might look silly later.
Yeah. But again, and I will say this, Marshall, it goes back to what we were kind of saying earlier in the show, is that, you do got to look at people who are hardcore, whether, again, it's not fair to say it's okay and cool in sports, right? Like, look how many people burn LeBron James jerseys. That's crazy. Like, that's crazy. Why would you do that?
Ricky Williams when he went to,
LeBron's the best player of our time right now. Like, honestly, and I'm not a Cleveland fan. I'm just telling you, I appreciate greatness when I see it in front of me, right? So I grew up, I think I'm lucky. I think all of us on this panel are lucky.
What about
right? We all grew up.
What about when they threw batteries at John Rocker for coming out of, when he used to
exactly.
That was
all these
aggressive.
There's so many crazy sports analogies that are just nuts.
It's
like, we're like, that's cool, man. He's just passionate. He's been a Cleveland fan forever, so that's why he did that. Are you what?
That's a perfect example, Mooch, because with LeBron, when he went to Miami, they burned his jersey. Then he came back. Then they had to buy new jerseys again.
They bought new jerseys. Yeah.
And they loved him.
Yeah, they loved him again.
That's because everybody was all up in arms, That's how it always is.
But that's how it is, Forte. These people, they get in their feelings, and then they don't know how to express their feelings in a mature adult manner. And
that's
then
because if you're not
out.
that's because if you're a fan of everything, you can't be disappointed.
That's true.
That's a good point, man. That exactly. Is why that is why I'm a bandwagon fan when it comes to sports.
Well, no, I can't do that.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
Yeah,
I don't know about that. See, sports is like immune to that type of hypocrisy, sir. You are a Redskins fan.
I am not a Redskins fan, sir. I am a Baltimore Ravens fan.
Oh, okay.
Oh no!
Definitely. It's another one. Here comes the bandwagon.
Hey, listen, there's no.
I bet your favorite
team
quarterback is Lamar Jackson too.
Yes, he is the MVP.
He's in the world than the New York Giants right now, and I'm still diehard bleeding blue right there. You know what I mean?
I feel your pain. We're right there in the bottom of the
tough,
NFC East with you guys, man. So.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, and it's not like you can go root for the Jets. So.
No. Listen, I'm already a Mets fan, man. I already got my
God.
Enrique.
I was fortunate enough to be Mets and Giants.
Enrique, so you're a Ravens fan now?
Yeah, dude. I live in Maryland. You know this.
Okay. Wait. I got a question. I got a question for you. Who is name one of your starting wide receivers?
I don't know now.
Man, you know what? Let me tell you something. I just want to tell you something, Slow-Mo. Football is a team sport. I root for the team, not the individual. All right? That's how I roll.
You can't name one player but Lamar Jackson on that team.
That team.
You know what?
Man.
We're not. You know what? I know the coach. That's all that
don't
matters.
Start
man.
Googling. Don't start Googling.
I know
top players on the.
I know Mark Ingram.
Yeah, because he's probably the second person that popped up on that populated list.
Look, let's not disparage my Ravens. Lamar Jackson is the GOAT. He's the GOAT. So we'll leave that alone.
Hey, OBJ in the chat said, I'm sure Sony will always have exclusive games to sell their hardware. That's 1,000% fact.
Well, that's 100% true. Yeah.
Yes. Well, here's my point. I mean, even if like, let's say Microsoft and Sony one day stop making hardware and we just have these apps, they're still going to make exclusive content, just like Netflix does, just like Hulu does. Absolutely. Because they still need to differentiate themselves from the competition.
They still want you to either buy their hardware in this case or Future Talk, right? They want you to download their app and buy services on that platform. That's where they make their money. So yeah, absolutely. It's
up to their service or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
the only time that will change if Amazon comes in destroying shit, and then everybody got to team up like Voltron. That's the only time
so who's going to be the arms and the legs if we do that?
Xbox, because they're at the bottom all the time.
I
didn't sound right.
Mooch
is like,
no way.
I'm joking. I kid.
So
I'm joking.
Enrique, this is.
I love really Xbox. Xbox #1.
So this is a really good subject. So we just had somebody join who works for Sony, and if you want to actually add, this is actually a really good moment for him to actually talk about this, what he thinks about this. So Enrique, my man Jeremy, he just jumped in.
Jeremy,
he is my Sony rep for Sony at GameStop, and actually works for them. So it's actually really cool to actually get his thought process on this whole MLB and how Sony's going about making that multi-plat. So go ahead, Enrique.
Well, first, real quick, Jeremy, I want to welcome you to the show. I know Forte had mentioned that you might join us this week. He did not confirm. Forte did not confirm.
Man, I haven't been able to confirm anything this week.
I know you've been busy,
GameStop got us working like slaves.
I know it's the holidays, man. It's retail, but I want to ask you, Jeremy, can you disclose anything related to PlayStation 5? That's the question everyone wants to know. Come on, hey, there's no softballs here, man.
Trying to get this man fired, man.
All right.
I know, right?
Let's have Mooch ask the question.
Baby steps.
Now, in all honesty, just to make sure, can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Right,
Perfect.
Cool. All right. So, honestly, being a retail rep, I'm like bottom of the totem pole. So, honestly, if the most information I get is after I hop online, and most of that time, most of the information I get is the home office. They don't disseminate the information quickly enough that I usually get the information first from online stuff before my home office decides to tell me. So,
well, so do we find out some information sometimes before you?
There are, if I'm out in the field working and I don't get a chance to, and I'm not getting notifications, sometimes the stores and sometimes the internet gets information first. So yeah,
cool. So what do you do for Sony? Like, in detail, like you said, you work on the retail side, so you're like interfacing with guys at GameStop. Guys at GameStop like Forte. Like, how do you help them?
Yeah, so basically my job is to make sure that Sony is represented well on the retail side of things. So that means at the very least I'm going into stores and making sure the PlayStation section looks nice, putting up marketing that they provide for me, and then also making sure that the employees know what the hell they're talking about. So because there are times where sometimes they just don't
be nice. Don't be kind.
Sometimes there are enthusiastic fans of one particular systems.
Oh, like Forte, basically. You're saying.
You mean like how Forte's pro Xbox?
Stop Forte from fanboying out and educate him on what PlayStation has. I got you, man. I got you.
So when you see when you walk into Forte's GameStop and he's got like a big sign that says Game Pass or Bust, you got to talk to him.
I do. I have to make sure sometimes that he, it's just like he's got to give love to the company that's actually making his company money. So,
okay. You'd like to elaborate on that?
Oh, came with the shotgun. Right?
Yeah, I like to hear that.
I'm just being real. When the Guinness Book decides to, honor PlayStation as a whole for selling as many as they have, PlayStation 4 being the second best-selling system overall. Those are hard facts, not opinions on that stuff. So
very true. Very true. Have you ever walked into Forte's store and saw him wearing a Pikachu on his back or a White Ranger helmet on?
You guys are terrible.
Have you ever seen Forte walking in concentric circles while talking to his phone? That's what I want to know. As he gets the internet dizzy as hell. No, I'm like, Forte, we love those videos. Keep them coming.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, Lord.
Forte catching all this shade right now.
We're clowning him right now. So.
Well, I know we love to get on Forte, but for you, there's been a lot of shakeups with Sony, with Sony recently, especially this year with leadership going out and new leadership in, and then the kind of the layoff situation. Like, were you aware of things like that happening before they happened? Were you maybe got like a word like, hey, some stuff might be going down?
No, honestly, it was like a complete shock. Like, especially like the Sean Layton thing. That surprised the hell out of us. We're just like, there was no hint, at least when that he was gonna leave the company. That was a complete shock to me. Like, it's so funny. I was at Forte's store and we were talking about like when Sean Layton first came onto the scene and how everyone was just like, oh, Jack Trenton. I mean, the guy. Jack Trenton was great. Yeah. And everyone remembered the first presentation that Sean Layton did, and he came off as very stiff very, is like, oh, who the hell is this guy?
Yeah, I remember that.
Sean Layton is one of the coolest guys. He's one of the few higher ups that actually basically schmoozes with the common folk like us, and he's one of the most genuine, nicest people I've ever met. So,
wow. Okay, so
awesome.
So what was it like meeting Sean Layton?
I try not to fanboy, just because it's just, but I mean, the guy, he in his short time with the company, he became sort of like how Reggie Fils-Aimé is, it's just like that icon, that figurehead that represents the company, but he honestly, he would hang out with us. Believe me, he would share drinks with us, whereas with some of the newer guys that are higher ups, I honestly couldn't tell you where the structure got. I don't know who's who and who's really my boss anymore because of this whole restructuring.
Wow.
Hey, Jeremy, let me ask you, man. Like with the restructuring, because I know sometimes I think there's like a natural knee-jerk reaction anytime there's changes up top, right? Like I've been through mergers, acquisitions, and stuff, and I've had leadership change. And I know when you're used to working for certain people, especially if you have a relationship with them, like you described, Sean was a guy that would have drinks with us. Like you said, he would hang out with the common folk. I think that probably speaks to the culture internally, or what he tried to promote internally in terms of culture. With some of these changes now, like with Jim Ryan coming to the fold, and Jim's not new. I mean, like he's been part of Sony for a very long time. But like, are you guys? I mean, like, again, I know you guys are kind of at like on the, out in retail and promoting the brand. But do you guys have any concern about maybe the direction that Sony's heading going into the PlayStation 5? Like, do you guys think, well, maybe these changes aren't good. Maybe these changes are going to impact, their, I guess their lead, if you will, in the console space, in the gaming industry.
I think from a company perspective, I really think that it may actually be a good idea. I mean, we're talking a brand new generation. This will be a perfect opportunity to set up people in power that have new ideas that could potentially drive forward, instead of doing the same thing or pretending that next generation is the same generation, is going to be the same for this generation. So, I mean, I really think that was one of the main reasons why you saw all of these chess pieces get moved, in just preparation to try and do something a little bit different. Shuei being in the position that he is for independence, Jim Ryan, like everyone, I really think that, I don't know, potentially this would be a good thing, at least hopefully. I mean, the guy that's going to be running Worldwide Studios, I mean, him talking about, the plan to continue trying to find or create those narratives or try doing something a little bit, just I think that the fresh blood for this next generation will be a good thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, so do you get word of when like they're going to do conferences, or if they're deciding to not do a conference, like how they didn't do E3 and they kind of didn't do PDC? Like, you guys know about that ahead of time, or say we're going to do PSX now? Like, did you guys hear about that? We don't get that much lead time as we would like, so we find out maybe a couple of weeks before everyone else does, so it's not really that much of a difference. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So you guys haven't. I mean, I know we joked around about PlayStation 5. Do you know the power of the console? Have you guys heard anything about PlayStation 5 at all? I mean, like, have they said, "Hey, guys, this thing's going to be awesome"? Like, get hyped, get ready. Like, have they said anything at all?
No, and that's probably the most frustrating thing, because we're basically the face of PlayStation when we're out in the stores, and so we get a lot of those questions from people. And when even the home office has to be selective of what they say and how they present it, a lot of times it just gets caught up in NDAs and legalities and all like that. So a lot of stuff that I know is based off of information that I had to glean for myself. So,
Gotcha.
and also it depends on who the rep is too, because I know some of the reps, especially some of the older ladies that we have that are in rep positions, don't really, they don't really care. They're old ladies that, like, what are they doing with PlayStation? It's a weird thing. So.
By the way, Jeremy, when you say older ladies, like, are these ladies look like seniors?
Because there are a few.
I met a Sony rep at the God of War launch, and I'm like, you don't look like you belong here. Like, she was out there smoking Marlboro Reds, had a raspy voice, kind of sounded like DMX. Just did not. Yeah, she was like, "What's up? You here for God of War?" I'm like, "What? Why are you barking at me, lady?" Like, what? No, she's out there smoking a cigarette. I'm like, she just did not fit the bill, man.
Well, the thing is, a lot of people don't realize is that the PlayStation rep position, as it is now, is completely different than it was even 20 years ago. And some of my colleagues have been with the company since the PlayStation 1 days. And back then, it was not only a third party position. It wasn't someone directly employed by PlayStation, but it was also a marketing, like strictly marketing. The stuff that we do now, like talking about doing demos and stuff like that. The people that have been with the company for ages, they never had to do that until rather recently. So,
so they used to have just straight up marketing people, but now they're kind of getting people who are gamers too. Like they're invested in the gaming industry.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
that makes sense.
The younger folk that are hired in are definitely more in tune with the culture of the of PlayStation. So
you guys need to hire Mooch.
Enrique, it's time for some hard-hitting questions here for Jeremy, if you'll allow me real quick. Yeah, Jeremy, real quick, how many complimentary PS5s are you going to get to hand out to friends and family? And more importantly, how does Mooch get on that list? Down to brass taxes here, Jeremy.
Now, I will say, I mean, I've been with the company since the PlayStation 4 launch, so that's 7 years now, 6-7 years now.
Yeah.
I used to be like Forte. I used to be a GameStop manager. I got lucky.
Yeah, you did. Still waiting for a jacket.
You keep asking. I keep telling you it's in my car. I'll get it. Really, I will. Mm-hmm. And then drive away. But no, I honestly, I mean, there are perks. I mean, hell, technically I do have a PlayStation 4. Technically, it's for work purposes. So when I go and do demos, that's the system that I'm using. But first party titles I do tend to get. It really just depends on how good of friends we are. So
Jeremy, when was the last time you bought a game?
No. We only get first party titles, so I still have to spend my money on other stuff.
That's the one thing he missed from GameStop. Trust me.
Yeah, I would have put up with a lot of crap from GameStop if I could have gotten myself like an Xbox, or a third party titles. So
Jeremy, I got a question for you. How do we? And this is kind of a piggyback on what Mooch asked. How do we get on that friends and family list for, let's say, a game like The Last of Us 2?
You won't find a more passionate panel, Jeremy.
No, unfortunately, there's no easy way of doing it. But sometimes, if you actually work for a retailer like Walmart, Best Buy, GameStop, Target, there are ways of getting free content for doing work related, but also knowledge related things that you can Forte knows all about it. We have a program that's for employees only at the retailer partnerships that we have. And all they have to do is take some quizzes, and if they take quizzes early enough, they can get digital codes. Like the first week that Death Stranding came out, we gave away digital deluxe copies of that to the employees for those people that did it. Yeah. And the biggest problem is that a lot of the employees, no matter how many times I've told them, they don't believe me. They miss out. So
trust me, I took mine and got mine.
By the way, you should no longer give any Hideo Kojima related codes to Forte, because he does not appreciate that man's work.
No, hold on. Why are you on this subject?
Did you get it?
Can you please tell these beautiful people on this panel the conversation you had with my district over the phone about Death Stranding and what needed to happen. Because they do not believe me.
You're gonna have to clarify. I'm not 100% sure of what we're talking about here.
So when we were the week that Death Stranding came out, and you were like, you guys, he said, I need you guys to really talk up Death Stranding. And what did I tell you?
No, you're gonna have to. Hey, man, that was a few weeks ago, man. But
Lord, you being selective now, sir.
I am. But if you say what it is, if you go ahead, I'll confirm or deny.
So basically, someone told us that we needed to really talk about Death Stranding because the game it's not trending so well. So we definitely need to do it. And I told you, if your boy Hideo Kojima told us what the game was actually about, we might be able to talk about it.
No, that is actually 100% true. I think one of the biggest problems that we had when it came to Death Stranding was Kojima being very Kojima in terms of in terms of the way he wanted the game presented. And so it left us on the retail team with very little information that we could pass on to the retailers that would try and help us sell the game properly. So yeah, it was a very difficult thing that, all things considering, I think it turned out well, but I think it could have been better had they given us the tools we needed earlier.
Well, in essence, and it's like, people are going to say, well, you're defending it. I happen to be enjoying Death Stranding. But I mean, for those of you that don't like it or don't want to give it a shot, this is I'm trying to give like a fair interpretation. To be fair, though, Jeremy, like it's hard to explain that game. Even myself, someone that enjoys it, explaining the game and what you do, it doesn't sound, again, and a lot of people have.
No, it doesn't sound appealing at all.
It doesn't sound appealing, but it is, or it is to that type of gamer that I am, right?
Yes.
So it's hard for you to give Forte or for Sony to give, or even Kojima to give this explanation that makes this game that says carry a lot of items from A to B, and by the way, halfway through the game we'll give you a vehicle. It's like, it doesn't hold water. It's one of those games you either get to experience and you like, or you experience and you dislike, and neither party is wrong.
No, and that was one of the biggest things that as the reviews started coming in, and me having to be being a rep and having to basically try and field these questions that people are having about, like, oh, I heard it was trash, and then trying to defend and still also try to be as real as I could with people asking me the questions. It was really tough because the arguments that people made are completely valid and legitimate, at least for most of the people that were complaining. A lot of those arguments are completely legitimate and valid in terms of why they might not have liked the game. It's but trying to explain that to Joe Public, it's one thing for us as fans of gaming to talk about it. It's another thing when all people are doing is looking at Metacritic scores, seeing the number, and that's all they're paying attention to. And all they're hearing is just like, oh, I heard it's trash. It only got like a 68. And just like, did you read the review? No? Oh, then you don't know why you got a 68. You're not understanding why you got a 68, And that was one of the hardest things for me having to deal with.
Interesting. Hey, real quick, Jerry, we actually have a question in the live chat for you from comes from our buddy Gaming Addict from the Iron Lords podcast. He wants to know, was there a launch game that you could not meet demand for?
Can you clarify a little bit? I'm not 100% sure what he means by that.
I guess if there was a game,
like, is there any game that like released that Sony wasn't prepared for when it came to the excitement of people wanting to go out and buy that game, and they couldn't meet the demand of the people?
God, some of it had to do with just GameStop is probably one of the easiest examples, because so much of what they do now is, and so much of, especially how their structure has changed to very reliant on their reservations, that people under-ordered. And Death Stranding was actually one of those, and Days Gone, our two most recent exclusives. Again, a lot of people saw the reviews. They weren't impressed by it. But then word started spreading that, oh, okay, people are actually liking it. And because of it, the companies had underordered, and particularly for those two games, and it was just like, well, that's what you guys get.
That's kind of a dream, though, Jeremy, for the business end of it, right? Because all of a sudden there's a supply and demand issue, right? So they under order, and then people go in, they go, you know what? Maybe I will give that a shot. They go in, they go, I'm sorry, man, I don't have any more copies. And now people are like, well, I gotta get that. I gotta have it. Like that gives a false interpretation of more people even have it, which makes that widespread. So in essence, when something like that happens, which it doesn't happen often, but when something happens where it's low order comes in and then there's a hype about it, you get that mass influx of a second round buy. That's, I think, what you guys experienced with Death Stranding, which is, like I said, that's I'm pretty sure corporate was pretty happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't given us final numbers yet, but I know that they are happy with how both Death Stranding and Days Gone performed. I know that, but they haven't given us final numbers in terms of how happy they are. But I know that they're satisfied with what they've seen so far.
Yeah, I can definitely tell just on the retail side of it when it came to those games. The one thing that a lot of people don't realize is it's really, especially for Jeremy in his position where he has to not convince people but try to educate people on why the game is this. There's a lot of different diverse people that like to play a bunch of different things, and it's real hard to like motivate people to want to enjoy or even talk enthusiastic about games that they don't truly care about. I think that's part of the reason why sales for a lot of these games are down. Outside of people just buying them digitally on their system, those people are already going to buy it digitally on their system. But how do you excite somebody for a game that they know nothing about or they're not really truly interested in? And then when you go to the retail store, none of those people are really interested in it. You can go to one store where it's like pro Xbox to the core, and then you go to another one where it's Sony core to the core, but then they might have different associates in the store that might have different liberties and stuff. So it's real hard to really do that. And then when it came to those two games releasing, I just remember person after person coming into the store saying, "Hey, you got Days Gone." Nah, man, sold out. Been sold out. And then then even the website was sold out of it. And then the same thing happened with Death Stranding up until 2 or 3 weeks after the fact. And another game that did it, which was a third-party game, which really didn't surprise me, was Sacrio when it released. That was another game that trended low on reserves, but for the market that wanted to buy it after it released was extraordinary. And we start seeing that more and more and more as more games start releasing throughout the year. And then you see those certain games that just sell out because of the price of the title and stuff. Like my store actually ran out of Call of Duties just because it was $38. And, that drove the supply and demand of the game up where they didn't order enough of them just because of the price point. And same thing but then you got games like Star Wars that sells out and isn't even on sale. It's just based on the IP and if they're actually well known or something. But something like Days Gone, Death Stranding, brand new IPs from Sony, definitely trended in the opposite direction that they wanted to, but they sold really well. And Detroit Become Human did the same thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Did the same exact thing.
Detroit is probably, yeah.
That's interesting. So Jeremy, so I know you said that it sounds like they're happy with the performance of Death Stranding, and I don't know if you have any insight to this, but do you guys anticipate that this game is probably going to? I mean, I think it probably will. I don't know where it'll chart on NPD. Do you imagine it'll chart maybe top 10 NPDs? Is that something you guys anticipate, or do you have any knowledge of that?
I don't know. Last I saw that it was the top game for November. Last I saw, at least digital sales for PlayStation. I mean, that doesn't really say much, but I don't know. I haven't seen the hard numbers in terms of actual retail sold. So it'll be interesting to see. Especially, where does Death Stranding being a new IP, where does that stand in terms of the new IPs that PlayStation brought out this generation? Where does that stand in terms of how well it did? Like Days Gone surprised the hell out of us by being the second or third best new franchise new IP that we brought out.
Yeah.
I mean,
Mooch
when
is a
stuff
big
like
fan.
that happens, like, oh,
I'm a huge fan.
So,
Huge fan of Days Gone. And listen, Days Gone, it's a slow burn,
yeah.
And there's things that studio has to kind of learn. I think they could have, I plat that game. I think that game was fantastic. But at the same time, I'm going to be honest with you, it probably could have been shortened by about 15 hours. That's if you're doing, if you're doing everything. But the game itself it's to be honest with you, the zombie genre, people say they're so tired of it. But when you ask people, what's your favorite zombie genre game? What does everybody say? Resident Evil. Right? So
Right.
If Resident Evil is your go-to zombie genre, then there's room for advancement. We can do something else. And I think Days Gone did a really good job of that. And utilizing, believe it or not, there's small things in video games that kind of stand out. And one of the things is the motorcycle, right? How that, they decided to kind of make that the focal point. That was something that you decorated and made more to the players' own personal likings. And also the way they designed the maps, where everything was very narrow and tight. That was only designed that a motorcycle could get through it. And you watch things like Walking Dead, and you see Daryl on the motorcycle, and you see that it's fast getaways, right? And it all plays in. And I thought that was an integral part of that game. So I don't know, myself personally, I'm a zombie nut, right? You put zombies in a game, and I'm buying it. But I mean, that's a me problem. But I think that Days Gone was done very well.
Considering it's the company Ben Studios is technically not. This was their first. Double, maybe. I don't know if that'd be called necessarily AAA, but definitely AA title. This is the first time they've made a game of that scope. Up until that point, they'd only done Vita titles and stuff like that. So the fact that the game did and was as good as it was, considering it was their first time doing it, shit, that's a great thing. And I'm hoping that we're going to see more of those from other studios too. So not only PlayStation, but all the other studios.
Hey, Jeremy,
Jeremy.
Go ahead, B. Go ahead.
What can you tell me about this game called Ghost of Tsushima?
There isn't much. What they've revealed, basically, he's a samurai who basically has to. His country is being invaded by I believe Mongolians, and he's forced to learn techniques that go against the ways of the samurai, and so that's where you see a lot of the stealth elements come in. If you saw that little teaser that they did at the end of State of Play, he dropped a freaking smoke bomb. That's not the way of the samurai, and so I guess it's his story as he tries to do right for his country while taking part in doing things that go against the way of the samurai. That's story wise. That's pretty much all I know.
Okay. So have you seen the rest of that trailer that they showed at State of Play?
No, I haven't. This is the first time I've seen it. I have seen. I haven't had a chance to get hands-on on actual gameplay, but I did see back in August some earlier shots of it that hadn't been shown to the public, and it was beautiful then. It's like very typical of what, if you're used to what PlayStation has to offer in terms of a story-driven experience, this will be right up there in terms of what you'd be looking for.
Nice.
Does Sony feel like it's going to be the same caliber as some of their bigger studios?
I think so. At the very least, from a visual perspective, like even the stuff that I had seen didn't have HDR. Like the trailers that you've seen, they don't have HDR in it. And
oh wow, that looks damn impressive. That's wow.
Just seeing what they have now with no HDR. Imagine if they, and that's not even guaranteed that they're going to have HDR. So, that game looks freaking gorgeous as it is. Sucker Punch does a really good job with their stuff. So
Sucker Punch has a great track record. I want to go to the live chat, guys. Got to pay the bills here. $5 super chat from Eshan Rashid. Thank you, sir, for the outstanding $5 super chat. Really appreciate that, bro. He wants to know: do we think Horizon is going to be PC? The rumor originated from 4chan and was repeated by a PC Russian fanboy. Would Sony sabotage PS5 like this? Jeremy, any
Horizon
thoughts
Zero?
on that? Yeah, Horizon Zero Dawn. Is that, have you heard anything
personally,
about that?
I don't. Well, I don't see the second one going to PC. I think if if they do Horizon, I think Jim Ryan has stated that he's looking and seeing where we can expand into other markets. And I think, we've made our money off of the first game. So if they decide to bring the first game to PC, I don't see why it would be detrimental to us. You just won't see day and date on multi-plat. That would never happen. He's already explicitly stated that he is going to be very particular, and it's all about the integrity of the IPs. And by putting Horizon 2 on PC or anywhere else would undermine that. So,
yeah,
this is an interesting thought. It actually kind of brings up a question I was going to ask you. So, do you get any directive from up above to say, to when you're speaking to like guys like Forte, this game is only on PlayStation? Do you get those kind of directives?
There are talking points. That they do want us to make sure that we. Is it really a lie if we don't say it? I mean, there are some games that haven't, like, for example, like Death Stranding. When that first came out, we knew it was coming out on PC a long time ago. But because of the way that the marketing dollars went, we had to make sure that we only highlighted the PlayStation version.
Like Destiny not being able to show Xbox cover art in your store for it.
Hey, it's not my look. You're still salty about the fact that we got that exclusive content for a year. Jeez, Forte. Jeez,
man, that's a whole calendar year and stuff that I couldn't play because Destiny 2 came out by the time I got it.
No, you could play it. You just had to go get it on PlayStation. So in regards to that. So of games right now that are going to PC that they haven't announced that are going to PC?
I can't remember if they announced one particular game. I can't remember if they said it was going to PC. I can't say which one it was.
Well, you could ask us if we heard it.
What does the game rhyme with?
Rhyme it, yeah.
You rhyme it.
Hey, look at you, man. I'm trying to keep him as a rep, man. I will tell you that I have 3 of the best reps that anybody can possibly have because they're all gamers, and I would like to keep them, sir.
I will say that it was featured on the State of Play. But I can't remember if they had already previously announced that it was going to appear on PC.
Oh, you mean Spellbreak?
No, he's talking about Predator.
Oh yeah,
Predator. They said that was going to PC. Yeah,
that was.
Yeah,
I gotta be honest with you. I don't know about anybody on the panel. I don't want to speak for anybody, but when they first announced Predator, that had PC written all over it. I didn't think that was a big shock at all.
I think one of the things that surprised anyone was that it was a PlayStation initiative. It was something that PlayStation had pursued. Especially coming from a company that very much focused on single player experiences. Here's this major asymmetrical multiplayer game being brought out from PlayStation. It surprised a lot of people. But that's but that goes back to trying new things, especially when it comes to the PlayStation 5. Hopefully we'll be seeing more of those opportunities, more of those, it's cool that it's cool that PlayStation does amazing things on a single player perspective. Let's see if they can try and apply that to a multiplayer perspective. And I think that's what they're hoping for with Predator.
So Jeremy, you think that's probably that sounds very, I think, close to what I think kind of Jim Ryan's been talking about. And so do you think then, like with PlayStation 5, obviously there's a rumor of SOCOM that that there's a studio that's working on bringing back SOCOM, which I think would
the current rumor is Guerrilla Games. Yeah,
Guerrilla Games.
Rumor.
Yeah,
man. So, I talked that into existence, right?
You did actually, P Money. But do you think that's you think that Sony's maybe going to put a little more focus in kind of those kind of games that maybe that are more attractive or attract a PC audience? Do you think that's kind of going to be the focus next console generation with them?
I don't know if it's going to be necessarily a focus, but I definitely think it'll be an element that they're going to, because they are never going to get a step away from the single player experience. But I think that they want to try and at least become a little bit more well-rounded.
I think if you're a Sony fan, you love what Jeremy just said.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to be very much single-player experiences, but I do think that there's room for growth and expansion, I think. And I think that, Predator would be a good first step.
Gotcha. So let me ask you something, Jeremy, because I want to get your thoughts on some of the other topics we have. More. Actually, I really want to talk about the rumors of the Xbox Anaconda. I'm sure you probably have heard about that. I'm sure you guys kind of keep your ears to the ground with what your competition's doing. But speaking of your competition, I mean, as a Sony rep, and you hear about things like Game Pass, I'm sure you probably hear people talking about it at Forte store. I know Forte talks about it a lot. He's got the big sign when you're not in the store that says "I break for Game Pass." Forte,
how much. You would be surprised how much that's not marketed in our store.
No, I know. I mentioned Game Pass to my GameStop manager. She gave me a dirty look, and I thought she was going to ask me to leave the store.
Well, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. I'll sell it to you, but
yeah. So, we know about Game Pass. I mean, Game Pass. I don't think anybody would argue that it presents a tremendous value. Maybe I think a value to those who have it. I think for some people there's not value because they may not be interested in the content that's offered, and that's fine. But at least I think monetarily you could make that argument that there's definitely value there in Game Pass. And
definitely.
There's a rumor now circulating that Cyberpunk 2077 could be a game that releases day and date with Game Pass next year. If that happens, guys, that's huge.
My stock. But I will eat my stock if that happens.
But here's
we want it live on Rap too. If that happens.
But here's the thing. I mean, like Microsoft, their big focus on is engagement. How many people are concurrently playing, or how many people are playing that particular, those games on that service. So they're not actually talking about sales numbers. They're talking about millions of people actually playing. But the thing is, and I was talking to Forte about this recently, will having Cyberpunk day and date, will that really help? Will that bring people in, and will it keep people in? After everything's all said and done, is there enough there that would keep people in? And quite honestly, despite the value proposition, they're fire sailing that Game Pass, but for me, outside of the small exclusives that they have, the small number of exclusives that they have, what more is there? And how do you try and get those third-party companies to sign in on this? How much money, if the rumor is true about Cyberpunk being on, how much money did Microsoft throw in their face to get them to do it?
The rumor is with Devil May Cry was like $25 million. So, and I don't know, Mooch, did you hear that too? That or anyone else on the panel? It was like $25 million. I always feel like I heard that on Crossfire, Mooch. I could be wrong.
19 million.
Yeah, I heard,
and again, that's rumor.
Yeah, that's a rumor. But I also heard it wasn't just for that. It was like a bunch of Capcom games.
Yeah, I think Slow-Mo's onto something there. But I mean, realistically, whether you're talking about 19 million for one game or it was a package deal, you have to look at the 200 games that are in there. Plus, you have to look at Gears 5, Halo Infinite, and the amount of money that's going into those games, $75, $100 million, $200 million, respectively. So, I mean, there's a lot of money going in there. And then you've got, high side 10 million Game Pass customers, mainly in at 99 cents to, $3. So that's the deal that's been going on promo for the past 3-6 months. So, I mean, realistically speaking, you've got a lot of games in there, a lot of contracts, and a lot of money tied up. And let's not forget, this is not a vault. This is not like EA Access. This is not a vault. So these games come in
and they can go out. Yeah.
So if you're not in for the $1 or the $3 or the $5 deal, and all of a sudden you're like, well, I'll get in later. And then you go ahead and you get in at $1 12 months from now, and now Devil May Cry 5 is out of there. Or this other game is not in there anymore. The games that you have to bank on for Game Pass is first party. Those will not leave. Other than that, you risk when you jump into the pool.
Well, I think when it comes to is this something that will work, it comes back to I don't think it's going to work console-wise. You can't pull somebody that's 6-7 years on PlayStation and that's the main system that they play on. And just because you can get the service for $1 or $10 or $15 a month, however much it is, you're not going to get that person to probably go out and buy a PlayStation. But what they can do is, if they can find a way to double down and get that stuff the same way that they got it on Game Pass on Xbox, get everything on PC. And if it's all about just the number, you can convert a lot of people over to that service on PC, because most people already have it. Most people have that system, and if they don't, they're probably more willing to upgrade because of the multi-functionality of it. But that's the only way I see people that have consoles to be able to even move over to a service like that on a consistent basis.
I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, because I have casual friends, and again, I don't like using. I say this all the time on my show. I'll say it again here. I don't like using just my friends as a census. Right? That's not enough people. Not enough people. But I've tried time and time again. You guys know Mooch, right? What do? I'm always trying to sell it, right? I'm like, come on, let's go. I'm like, guys, it's $1 right now to friends who have kids that would enjoy games that are on Game Pass. And they're like, yeah, but when the $1's up in 3 months, then how much is it? And I'm like, well, then it goes to $9.99. They're like, oh, dude, I just got Disney Plus, and I got Netflix, and I got this, and I got that, I got a phone bill. Blah, blah, blah. They go through their entire list. I get like a resident.
Well, that's two different things, though. When it comes when it comes to keeping people, I agree. But if we're talking about like something like Cyberpunk, and you can get in for $1 or even at the $10, look, I own an Xbox, and I got Anthem for free on Xbox. And I still wanted to play it a week early, and I bought it for I literally subscribed for $100.
Well, that's the thing,
just
though.
for that.
See,
so I mean, it just comes down to the individual in that thing.
It's not the individual. You just explained my point. You're the hardcore. The hardcore are buying Game Pass because it saves them a plethora of money. The people we talk to on Twitter, the people doing podcasts, the YouTubers, the big gaming media sites, they are playing video games all the time, right? So they're going to say to you, and they're not wrong, it is a tremendous value to get into Game Pass. But what I'm trying to say to you is, now the person that's just playing NBA 2K and Call of Duty, they don't care about Devil May Cry 5.
People don't care.
They don't care about Untitled Goose Game. Okay, right? So, but you got to hear me out, right? This is what people on the internet right now are like. See, value. I mean, listen, Untitled Goose Game costs less than, like, if you're to buy it, I think it's less than a Happy Meal. So, I mean, my point being is that, like, I don't understand really where, like, you have to look at where the customer is going. So when you say, oh, the customer has a PC, they already have that platform in their house. The customer that has a PC in their house and doesn't game and is a casual gamer, they use their PC for emailing. Okay. For shopping at Best Buy and GameStop during the holidays. So that's not the customer that what Game Pass needs to succeed is what Disney Plus and what Netflix has, and that is the casual. That is everybody, right? Well, they have content. But I mean, the problem is that they don't have the casual market, because the casual market right now is okay with buying one $60 title a year and being done with their purchase for the year. And I think a lot of people have a hard time wrapping their minds around that. That's the thing. When I say my small consensus, the folks that I'm talking to that play NBA, my very good friends play NBA 2K and they play Call of Duty. That's it, right? And when I say to them, these are the list of games you can get for $1, they're still not interested. And that's a me problem. That's my world. I get it. But I'm trying to say to you that when we hear numbers like Game Pass is now at 10 million people, well, those 10 million people, I would say probably 6 million, let's even play devil's advocate, say 4 million people got in on it because it was $1. So you're probably going to end up, when those dollar deals are over with, you're probably going to retain 6 million. So what I'm saying to you, that's not enough to keep, when you're talking about $100 million for Gears 5, 200. There's rumors. I don't like the rumors. I'll try to be realistic. 100 to 200 million for Halo, right? 343's got 400 or 500 employees. That's a lot of money. So you got 200 million there. You got 75 to 100 million for Gears. Then you've got the Devil May Cry package deals for 19 million. You've got these other deals you're seeing going in there for X amount, 5 million, 6 million, and you've only got 6 million people retaining it at most at $5 to $10. I'm telling you, that's not what's going to keep this thing afloat. It needs to be the casual.
That's why they don't. From what I've heard, it's just that, like, they don't really look at what that initial boost of numbers is. Like when they dropped Gears 5.
I hope they don't. That's a good point, Slomo.
Because you're going to get those people who are only going to pick up the service for $1, play Gears 5, finish the campaign, uninstall it. they're gone. And then you're going to get that percentage of people who sign up, play Gears 5, didn't finish it. I'm gonna get back to it. Maybe they do get back to it. Maybe
Mooch,
they don't.
did you finish Gears 5?
There are these people.
Yeah, right.
There are people who sign up for services and then forget to cancel. They plan on canceling. Oh yeah, I gotta cancel that, and then they don't do it.
And
absolutely, the whole gym mentality is built on that, Slow-mo. But you know what happens though? We all know friends or ourselves that are like, you know what, man, I fell for that. I forgot to stop my gym membership for a year. Finally, I realized, holy shit, I looked at my credit card bill. Again, they're digging me for $10 to $15 a month. I finally canceled. So my point being is that eventually, even with that forget syndrome built in, eventually that does wear thin. So
my point is that there's it's a percentage. There's demographics that sign up for these services, and some stay and some go. And to your point, Mooch, they do need to have content that keeps people. The Disney Plus, even HBO, because HBO is the subscription service, whether you get it on your app or you get it through your cable company. When they had Game of Thrones, they could consistently count on people either signing back up for HBO or sticking with it with some of the other content until Game of Thrones came back up.
My question,
if you have that content, then it's going. People are going to say it's worth it.
But Slow-mo, here's my question again to you, even with your point, which is valid. Again, that's the hardcore. So the hardcore comes in, buys the game, gets it in on Game Pass for the $1, $5, $10 a month, enjoys the game, and then leaves, and then comes back later. You might say, well, Microsoft's okay with that. Of course they're okay with that. But you're still retaining that 10 million cap because it's the same customer leaving and coming back. What I'm saying to you is, in order for Disney, when Disney Plus launched, right? Wasn't it like, I don't know, what was the number, guys? 75 million? I don't know what the number was. 10 million, 13 million the day one. I don't know. It was astronomical, right? And it continues to grow. What I'm saying to you is, that's what I'm saying. And they're limited. They're throwing that one group of like Disney-owned titles in there, and things like The Mandalorian, they have coming out once a week, right? So they have very limited content, yet the number continues to grow. Here you have something like Xbox Game Pass, which is a tremendous value, but the casuals are not jumping in head first. It's been out for a while now, and it's just slowly creeping, and it only creeps up, or we only hear numbers announced when it's back to a 99-cent deal. You know, you don't see these numbers jumping astronomically, and if I'm Microsoft, I'm a little concerned at this point because, yes, I'm seeing spikes, but I'm seeing spikes when we're almost giving it away.
And that's what worries me, really. What worries me greatly is like they're taking a movie pass approach where they're hoping that they can get to a tipping point, a certain number of subscribers, and hopefully things will turn around. And it worries me that, how is it sustainable? And that's what greatly worries me.
Jeremy, but that's and I understand the arguments towards is this thing sustainable? I think because we have these conversations because we're obviously fascinated about the business side of the industry because we love the hobby. But they always said this: at the end of the day, that's up to Microsoft to figure out too how they make this thing work out. And so but no, there's definitely a conversation. Well, how do they make it work? But at the end of the day, it's up to them to figure it out how to work it out. And I'll say this: I do think, and I know this is kind of an unpopular opinion, but I do think the way that you make this work, like a Netflix, like a Hulu, like a Disney Plus, is to have this thing on multiple devices. And I don't mean PC, your TV, your phone, I mean on Nintendo Switch and on PlayStation. I
would sign that thing up. I would sign up for that thing in a heartbeat if it was available on the PlayStation.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people would. But I think to get to that tipping point, I know this is not a popular opinion, but the more you open it up to the masses, the more likely you are going to get to subscribe. Because basically what they're relying on is PC right now, right? Because now you're going to have Game Pass. You have Game Pass on PC now. It's not as robust as I think Game Pass on console. You don't have as many games on PC as you do console.
Enrique, Game Pass has got to get on Switch and it's got to get on PlayStation. And
that's my point.
It's got to get built in the Samsung TVs, like all these partnerships that they got with all these other companies. They need to leverage that stuff.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yep.
You know, that's exactly
if it goes to PlayStation, it's got to be a different. You know how like Game Pass PC does not have all the games that Game Pass Xbox has, and it's partially because
they have deals like Steam and Epic Store.
Right, they have deals with Steam and Epic Store where those games just can't show up. But I could see Sony having a problem with Game Pass showing up on their store or on their platform, and then there are games that are in Game Pass that people can play without actually having to buy them through PSN Store. And so now they're like, well, you're taking sales out of my pocket, which is probably the reason why if Microsoft ever made that offer to Sony, they'd be like, thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah, no doubt. I don't think that'll happen.
They'll just retool PS Now to be a lot more similar to what Xbox Game Pass is.
Well, I think they're doing that already right now. I mean, up to the point where they're not doing day and date, first party games.
And Jim Ryan has said as much.
And they don't necessarily need to do that, but I think they need to also leverage their third party partners. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of big games that Microsoft has gotten this year, and Sony hasn't matched that with PS Now.
They got other than Grand Theft Auto. I mean, that's probably the biggest third party.
That's the last.
Well, I mean, the one thing, and tell me what you guys think. I'm going to pose this as a question instead of a statement for me. My one thing that I want to ask you guys on the panel that I find is questionable about Game Pass for the hardcore is like, what do we always say, especially the hardcore we talk to on Twitter all the time and YouTube, is what have you done for me lately? So a game comes out, right? Whether it be Jedi Fallen Order or whether it be Death Stranding, it doesn't matter. Pick the game. I mean, Death Stranding's a bad example because it's a Sony title, but it doesn't matter if it's a third party company, Control, right? It doesn't matter. but hear me out though. My point being is that, like, when you say, hey, maybe I'm going to get Game Pass, right? Because they're getting such good games in there. But the thing is, you don't know what games are coming down the pipe. It's almost like don't get me wrong. It's a very, very small investment, but you're investing into it to say, okay, if there's no Microsoft first party game in there that I want to play right now, or I already have played, and now like Slow-Mo saying, I'm coming back into the ecosystem in the Game Pass. You have to sit there. I know some people, there's a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, a few people on Twitter are always like, well, I'm glad I waited. This game finally made it in the Game Pass. Well, I don't know about you guys, okay? But I'm not going to become a Game Pass member and then wait 7 months for my next favorite game to maybe come into Game Pass. Like, I'm going to go buy the game, right? Or I'm going to play the game when it comes out if I want to play the game. So, like, I get that. So that's what I'm saying. So you have a situation like we spoke about in the last segment where the casuals are not quite ready. Somebody that buys a game a year is not ready to invest $10 a month in the Game Pass. And then you have the hardcore where, yes, like Slow-Mo said, when a game comes out day and date, they're going to jump in there and give that $10 right away. But the hardcore starts to slowly drift off when there's no dollar sale because they're going to go, well, dude, the next 2 games that come out, I want to play those games, and I want to play those games the day they come out. I'm not going to wait for Game Pass to get it 3, 6, 9, 12, 18 months later. You know what I'm saying? So that's what happens.
I think they're actually getting them a lot earlier than that.
I think that only applies to like big games. But if you look at like
absolutely
some other games, like even like hardcore gamers, what I mean, will go out and support games like the Plague's Tale or like Greedfall, like some of these AA games that have potential. You know what I mean? A lot of.
But again, gamers. You don't know. But you don't know they're going into Game Pass. You know now, right? We're doing Monday morning quarterback.
But I think when you look at games like that, it's more of like it could. So I'll wait. You know what I mean? To see if they will, and what I mean. Eventually, if it doesn't, I'll catch it on sale or something like that. But I think that those particular games, in that segment, those AA games, what I mean. I think those are probably getting hit the most, you know what I mean, and getting hit the worst, you know what I mean, being affected by that.
Hey,
I think that the whole Game Pass effect of really when it comes to sales affects the demographic of a game where they're waiting for sales to get that game. They put the game on their wish list. They're waiting for Black Friday when it's half off. Then they're going to pick that game up. It's not a game that they feel or they it's like, oh, that game looks interesting, but I'm playing other stuff right now. I wouldn't even play it yet, so I'm not going to buy it yet. If it's a game that say like, oh, that looks fire, I gotta play that right now. Forget Game Pass, they're going to buy it right now. That's like how I feel about like Final Fantasy VII Remake. Like I knew that was going to be a timed exclusive, but I said I'm not waiting for that. day one, I'm getting on my PlayStation 4.
Right.
So,
I'm right there.
Yeah,
with
but there are some other games where you may say, that game looks really interesting and I've heard some good things, but I'll wait for a sale. And if you have Game Pass, that's where you kind of go, you know what? That's probably going to go to Game Pass in about 3 or 4 months. I'll just play it then.
Yeah,
so
but
I think that's that demographic
but that's a pie in the sky thought. Don't get me wrong, Slow-Mo. I see where you're coming from, but also use B Money's example a second ago when he says a Plague's Tale, right? Like that's also getting back to, again, these are different conversations we're kind of blending into one. But again, when you're going back to the casual market, the casual gamer who plays Call of Duty and plays Madden is also maybe looking forward to Gears, maybe looking forward to Halo, but a Plague's Tale, that would never even hit their radar. If it went in there and they don't even know what it is. And even if it popped up on their like thing, if they had it for 3 months and it pops up on their platform, they're like, oh, look, this is out today. They'll be great. I don't want to play that. So my point is that's not going to lure more people in. So again, you're retaining what? We're retaining at the best. At the end of this conversation, we're retaining the hardcore. And let's not forget, okay, because Jeremy and Forte will tell you this. The hardcore were the ones that were buying your first party games at $60, $90, $100, or $150, depending on which, if you got the collector's edition or the super collector's edition, right? So now you've taken that $60, $90, $150 customer, and now that customer is there for 99 cents or $5. So what I'm saying to you is like what you guys are doing is
$2
right. So you're exactly, that's my situation. So my whole thing is like you sit there, right? And you're like, what we're doing is you've condensed the hardcore into getting sales, and where they used to give you $150 per game, they're giving you 99 cents, period. And that's the problem. That's what I'm saying. So
I disagree with that. I disagree with that.
You can disagree with it.
No, I disagree with that because it doesn't hold water.
Sure it does.
Because we actually had executives that say that, not just Xbox executives, but third-party people who put their games in Game Pass, and they've said our games have increased in sales.
They have.
They have beat expectations than what we were expecting.
Those are garage developers that have made very small games.
Doesn't
sure
matter.
Does.
That means that people who are getting Game Pass are still buying games.
They are certainly buying more Untitled Goose Game. That is correct.
You just added that. You added that.
Untitled
Goose Game just got into Game Pass.
I use that as a joke.
I know you are, but I'm talking about a very valid point, a fact that
your
all
valid
these other games are increasing in sales, whether they're small, big or small. Tiny. They are increasing in sales overall.
Yes, they are. So they went from 10 sales to 50.
You do not have statistics that say only the small games in Game Pass.
You don't have a statistic telling me a AAA developer said that.
But I do have statistics that games in Game Pass are increasing in sales. So I'm not going to apply anything extra to that. I'm just going to say, okay, games in Game Pass are increasing in sales. That is a value that I see why third-party developers will say, I'm going to go put my game in there.
And that's what the executives say. That's what they're supposed to say. So that's what it is. But what I'm trying to say to you is that the only ones we have concrete evidence from on Twitter are very small indie titles have said that.
I know, Mooch. I'm just messing.
I know. No. Promo. Good on you, man. Good on you. Because I got to be honest with you, that's the great conversation, because that's the thing I think we have to understand here, that we don't want to. And I want to just let the audience know real quick. I've said this a million times. I'll make it 1,000,001 on Brad. Game Pass is an unbelievable value. If you're a hardcore gamer, like anybody on this panel, including myself, been gaming since the 80s, okay? You cannot, never in our entire existence, you got to back me up on this. Never in our lives have we been able to plunk down 99 cents to get 200 games. Never.
No.
Okay?
Dude, I would have lost my mind as a kid.
It's crazy. It's crazy great. So I am not. You guys got to understand something. If we're having a discussion, some people they kind of get their. This is what we were talking about, Enrique, before the show. Some people kind of get their fandom in there a little bit. It's not. The conversation is business. From a business standpoint, there's a lot of different angles to look at with Game Pass. From a hardcore gamer standpoint, I'm a pig of shit. I'm having a good time, right? I'm having a good time, and so should everybody in the chat. So it's not that. The point of the matter is that when you hear Jeremy, who was here on the show, and he's telling you from his higher ups, and he's getting memos, and we've read these things from Jim Ryan, that they have no intention of doing it. You have to understand, right now, they have PS Now. They could very easily do day and date. But the thing of the matter is that what I was saying to you guys with the $60, $100, and $150 customer is they don't need to do that right now, because what they're going to do is they're going to make $60, $100, and $150 on each customer. Especially, let's use The Last of Us 2. Okay, the mooch of all people went and plunked down for the collector's edition of The Last of Us 2 because I'm a huge fan, right? Lunatic fan. So I love that. I'm going to do that. And then you're going to get other people that are going to join it and play that, enjoy that game in PS Now 6, 12, 18 months later and pay $1, $5, 10 or 12 a month, and they'll double dip. That's the thing where Microsoft this generation was kind of like, okay, they just got lapsed as of today. They just got lapsed by the Switch, right? And Nintendo put out 2 consoles in this very generation. Right, so they got lapsed by the Switch. So Microsoft knows they need to do something above and beyond normal retail sales. It's not working. So they did Game Pass, and good on them, and good for us. Good for us. But all in all, that's my whole thing. Is like, if we're talking about the business end of Game Pass, we've got to look at the avenues. And if we're looking at just from a fandom or just a gamer's perspective, hey, we're all making out great, and I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I noticed with Game Pass is what's going to happen when the new systems come out. When we got the Scarlett, we got the rumored Lockhart coming, and what is the conversation?
Good segue, Forte.
What is the conversation that retail going to be like? The biggest thing that I always stress to people, because I'm like, my district is one of the districts that we just want to help customers and stuff. So we'll tell people about really good deals in Game Pass. Like if it comes down to adding something to a transaction to help guests get what they need, and they buy in an Xbox and they can't decide on what games they want, I say, hey, take this card, get 6 months of Game Pass. It was on sale for $44 for 6 months during Black Friday. Buying yourself a $199 system, you literally for less than $300 is getting access to over 300 games. Now the thing is, Game Pass should always be the companion to the games that you buy that you want to own on the system. That's how I treat Game Pass. I buy the games I want to buy, and then Game Pass fills in the rest of the gaps for the games I don't know if I want to buy them or not. And like he said, by the time you look up, a lot of those games that you were looking down the line that's saying I'm gonna buy that at one day, sooner or later just pops in Game Pass. I didn't have to buy Devil May Cry, and I was, but it just showed up one day, and I was like, oh, it was like that underselling great surprise that you got because it was something that you didn't think would actually happen. So for me, it really just comes down to the one thing that Microsoft doesn't do the best is market. And if they can actually market this correctly and get people with the next generation, because I think trying to compare with this generation and put Game Pass in the middle of it, we will all say Game Pass is probably the best thing that Microsoft done this whole generation. But how is that going to look next generation, or in Microsoft's situation where they don't think of generations anymore with their next console cycle? How is that going to play with the people that are moving over to the next system? Because that's the golden opportunity to get those people into a service that either A, are switching over from another system because they finally want to get an Xbox, or B, are upgrading from old hardware, because believe it or not, there's a huge segment of people out there that didn't upgrade at all during this generation, which is crazy to me, but it is out there.
All right.
They're still on the old Xbox One.
Oh, God. The VHS Xbox One. Yeah. Well, Forte, that was a great segue to the last topic of the evening. And by the way, that was a great conversation. I think it's it's always an interesting conversation. It's always one, by the way, that people get kind of I don't know, in a tizzy about sometimes. And
passionate.
Yeah, passionate. You know. Yeah. So, but anyhow, again, I think like Mooch pointed out, like no one here is arguing that it's not a good value. That's not what anyone's saying here. It's also the people with the live chat that I think we're taking it that way because, I guess we weren't praising the almighty Game Pass, and look, it's a great value. No one's arguing that. So,
look, man, you can ask. It's good to ask questions because it's new. Yeah. It's in its infancy. We don't know what the long-term effect. We're just discussing it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and I'm gonna say this: everything that seems good isn't always good later. You just don't know. But right now, it seems very good. So we're all jumping in, we're using it, and utilizing it.
Well said.
Yeah. At the same time, baseline, it's not my job to worry about it. Like we said, it's Microsoft's job to worry about what the long-term effects are. It's for a developer to decide, hey, is this a good thing for me to jump into? But yeah, we're gonna discuss it. And if you have a problem with that, Hit the downvote.
Right, and yeah, if you wanted a fanboy podcast, you came to the wrong place.
Not on Wednesday night, baby.
Around here.
But hey, I will say this. And I'll jump on like what you're saying. Game Pass has changed my buying habits on the Xbox. I see a sale pop up.
Sure have.
I see Wario 64 pop sales all the time. I'm like, I'm not watching. I don't need to see that because I have all the games that I want. And if it's something that I may be iffy on, I'll just wait for it to come to Game Pass. Isn't that what it's for?
But it's crazy though. So using Wario as a good example. So Wario 64, all of a sudden you see like a $59.99 game on Switch that you wanted to grab, right? And all of a sudden it's like what? It's on a big sale at $51.99. I'm like, I gotta cop that.
Like run.
Right? So like that's what I'm saying. Like, so Microsoft set up this alley. Yes, we have now changed our mentality. The hardcore's now not running out spending $60. We know we won't. We will wait. That's fine. That's fine. And I think it's everyone's prerogative, and that's great for the consumer.
I'm not waiting.
All of a sudden, well, that's the thing, and it depends. Like myself personally, I think anybody on the panel, you guys in the chat also understand when you're coming to the shows and you're seeing the podcast. First of all, it's a talk show, so we have to talk, right? If we all just sat around this panel, and we're like, oh, you're right, Forte. That's great, B. Everybody's right. That's great. Let's wrap this thing up in 5 minutes. What do you guys say? All right?
That's great. Yeah, great point. All right.
Jeremy, thanks for stopping by. We'll see you next week. Right. So like the whole thing is, but that's one part of it. The other part of it is that we grab games a lot of times. And Slow-Mo, you're hysterical on Twitter because I do the same thing you do. Me and Slow-Mo both be like, you know what, we're not getting this game. That's not really my thing. And then people won't stop talking about it. And I'll see Slow-Mo will be like, are you going to make me buy this game right now? You know what I mean? Like, so because like we got to talk about it. Like, are you going to talk about this for the next 2 weeks on the show? Because if you're going to talk about it for 2 weeks, I got to cop this game. I got to play the game. So that's the thing. We are also in the podcasting world. People always write. They're like, hey, Mooch, what do you think about this? I can't be like, well, I'll let you know in 18 months when it hits Game Pass. You know what I mean? Like, so we always go out and grab these games because we want to play them so we can explain them to everybody. And I always find podcasting to be my formal review. I don't do a lot of review videos like everyone else does. My reviews always come through the form of live media on podcasts. So I always play the games and speak to them as I'm going through the game weekly. So that, that's what I'm saying. So when you guys come here and they're like, oh, come on, you guys are full of it. It's like, well, we're not. And we're in a unique situation here. So that's kind of where you get like both ends of the tail here. But go ahead, Enrique. You had a great segue that I interrupted. I apologize.
Yeah, no. I think those are both great points by you, Mooch, and Eric as well. So and like Slimmo said, like we're not we are a console agnostic podcast. we don't worship any brands here on BRAP. It's not what we do. We just all of us just love gaming. Like, look, it's funny. Like,
except for Stadia.
Oh, come on!
Don't do it. About to be a fighting here.
Don't do that.
For Stadia, because
don't do
it. Born.
Forte
was born here.
Forte, that's like making fun of a baby. It's only 3 weeks old.
That baby should have a job by now, okay? If you don't have a job, baby, you gotta get out. You gotta support yourself.
Slow-Mo's like, where's the rent?
Baby Yoda out there earning. Go earn it.
Baby Leo's out there earning. I got bills to pay.
Amazon is still in the womb, and Amazon's going to college. Okay,
wow.
Amazon's going to have a
everybody,
job.
Listen. Just to comment on Slow-Mo's comment right there. Do you remember when the Mad Box was a thing 6 months ago? There was people being like, I can't wait to see how the Mad Box competes. The Mad Box is still in the garage. Get out of here with the Mad Box. Listen, everyone loves the next best thing that ain't out yet, and that's Amazon. Everyone's like, oh, you know what? Screw Google. I'm going Amazon. You think Amazon's going to come out with 85 first-party games in the first 3 weeks? Absolutely not.
They'll have more than one.
You don't even know. We have no idea.
We don't know that.
They got first. Look. I know.
Slow-Mo. You don't know that.
I know they have first-party studios they're working on.
You know what they don't have? They don't have an infrastructure like YouTube. That's for damn sure. They can't stream content like Google.
They have Twitter or Twitch. Sorry, it's a Twitter.
They have Twitch. Yeah,
they have Twitch.
They won't leverage. They won't leverage the hell out of
it. Are we comparing YouTube to Twitch?
Yes, we are.
For gaming, absolutely.
So.
For gaming, Twitch is curb stomping YouTube right now.
I don't know about that.
He did with Joe Lewis's ass.
In gaming, absolutely. That's That's like comparing NBC to Mooch's podcast channel.
Stadia was 100 years old when he fought.
Stadia was 104.
Well, I think you're right. So let's move this conversation on.
Let's get off Stadia.
I think OBJ said it right, though. He said, this is a PCMR podcast. I think you are absolutely
let me tell you something.
Sir.
That is right.
I'll give you...
All of us own
the PC master race.
All of us own capable hardware PC here, except for Forte. I'm just joking.
I wipe 30 frames per second off my shoe. It's just disgusting.
I'm not about that. I'm not about that PC gaming life. I don't like to be aggravated when I sit down to the game.
I don't want to be aggravated.
He was trolling me so bad when I was having issues with this.
You have to change your mindset. The troubleshooting your game so that you can play is a mini game. So it's like it's a game within a game. You have to figure out why it's not working, and then when you troubleshoot it, you get it like 6 hours later. Then you can play the actual game that you wanted to play. Look, man, you gotta change your mindset, man.
Well, my mini game's co-op then, Slow-Mo, because I'm usually hitting you up on DM, man.
Right, real talk. I see the joy on when Enrique goes with the DM, like I got it to work.
I will say
now it's not working again.
I will say that's what I'm looking forward. That's what I'm looking forward to with the next generation is the possibility of being able to drop the game in and that shit working right off the bat. That's what I'm looking forward to for next gen.
Well, it's interesting. I've heard some things. Okay, Jimmy, I have heard some things about PlayStation 5. I can't say who told me this, but there were some other individuals on this podcast who heard this from somebody who. Oh man, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? I think E and B. I think you guys were with me. We had someone on. Am I ringing any bells here?
I didn't catch enough of the segue to know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Wait.
Oh well, because Jeremy was talking about like I'm looking forward to like like the next generation of the games, kind of like you pop them in, they load up right away.
And sounds like Stadia.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. No, I think
somebody let a match.
I think Eric and B Money were before he went live. We had a guest. I don't want to name their name, but remember he was telling us, he or she was telling us some stuff about PS5 and how the SSD, the loading stuff was.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Okay, then you were there, Slow-Mo. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. It's the podcast. I was there. Which one that was? I don't want to get
don't.
We don't
want to get him in trouble.
We can't say names.
Yeah, we can't say who it is. But he when he said it, we know he's in the know. Like we know this, and Jeremy, to your point, he said that one of the things that was related to him was that SSD or that load time was very, very, very impressive with that system. So
yeah, I know that they were talking about how not only with the SSD, just decrease load time, but talking about selective installation too. Where,
yes,
like if you play a Call of Duty, if all you play is multiplayer, all it will load up is just the multiplayer, and then the rest either doesn't get downloaded or or it downloads in the background. So
yeah, exactly. So Slow-Mo, you're nasty, by the way. I saw what you wrote in the live chat.
Yeah, that's disgusting.
That's just nasty, man. That's just gross. So I do want to get to the last topic, guys. We heard about probably about a year and a half ago. We heard about two possible SKUs for the next generation Xbox, Project Scarlett, and in fact, according to Windows Central, the Xbox One will in fact have Lockhart, which would be the diskless version of the Xbox, will come with a 8-core processor, rumored to run at 3.5 gigahertz, have about 4 teraflops of power, and then the Anaconda, the beast, if you will. I'm calling it the beast. 12 teraflops of raw power. 8-core CPU running at higher speeds than Lockhart. And what I heard, and then look, we've heard people say this thing's going to run at I think Jason Schreier was on a podcast, said that he had heard that this thing's going to run at like 2080. Like if you guys are familiar with the NVIDIA GPU cards that are out right now, the RTX 2080, Jason suggested that the Anaconda could that it could be as powerful as a 2080. Which, it's funny. Immediately when I heard this, guys, I thought Gaming Forte saying this shit is not going to launch at $500. Mark my words, this shit's going to be $600. And I'm like, Forte was right, because there's no way, this console
it's not going to perform to the level of a 2080 Ti.
Yes,
it's not going to do. I'm sorry, people. It's not doing that.
I heard 2070 to 2070 Super is what I heard originally, but now we're hearing this beast. Anyway, look, guys, I got two. My big questions are this: one, do you guys think that the Anaconda is going to be as powerful as it is? And then two, how is Microsoft going to market this? I hear the analogy a lot of, cell phones do this all the time. They market multiple SKUs. 2 SKUs aren't going to confuse people. And I'm like, well, cell phones are a little different. Like, cell phones are a little more tangible than consoles, right? Like, when you go into like T-Mobile or Verizon and you see a S9, the S9 Plus, you can visually see the difference. Bigger screens, it's a little more tangible, a little bit easier to sell. Where if you're talking about teraflops to a casual consumer, somebody who doesn't know the difference between 4 teraflops and 12 teraflops, they're not going to know what the fuck you're talking about. If you talk about CPU or frames per second, more than likely they're probably not going to know what you're talking about. So,
most of the hardcore gamers also can't really understand this stuff and don't really know what they're talking about either.
Well, we'll get to that slow-mo, but
especially on the teraflops.
Yeah. So, that's kind of the thing for me. Like, I'm not sure. Could this thing be 12 teraflops? Maybe, possibly. If it in fact was 12 teraflops, it wouldn't surprise me, because we know that Microsoft, Phil said, hey, you know what? We're not going to lose the power narrative, and we're sure as hell not going to get beat out on pricing again. And this covers all angles for them. Have a cheaper Lockhart at a cheaper price point. Doesn't have the performance power of the Anaconda, and then you have the beast, the powerful Anaconda, what's rumored to be 12 teraflops. You have that out, but I guess for me, it's like, how do you market this? And I hear people say, oh, well, they do it all the time with cereal, they do it all the time with McDonald's burgers. And I keep thinking to myself, yeah, those things are a little more tangible, a little bit easier to market.
I'll tell you how you market it. You market it by not bringing out a Lockhart and confusing everybody.
Well, hold on, wait.
That's how you market it.
Wait. I want to go to our guest this evening, and I'll go first. I want to go with Jeremy, because I like to get his insights since he's in that retail space and marketing with Sony, and then I want to go to Mooch and get your thoughts on this, and then we'll go down the panel. But Jeremy, like, what? And I don't know if you've heard this rumor or up to speed with this, the rumor.
Yeah, I'd heard that rumor, and I mean, I don't know if you guys remember, for there was a rumor for a while that PlayStation was going to have 2 SKUs also.
I do remember that.
I agree with Forte. I hope to God this isn't true. My biggest concern is that it'll fracture the market. It's a similar situation to what's happening with even how the Xbox One is right now, where there's the Xbox One or the S versus how performance-wise it is so different from an X. And I worry that, how comparable are the games going to be? How gimped are the games going to be on the Lockhart, versus the Anaconda? And God, how is it? I do not envy the retail side of this, having to explain this to grandma who's just in the store trying to buy something for Timmy because they're coming over for the holiday. It's just, I worry about that.
But with and I hear your point about game performance. I think it's a lot of things. That's something that's actually come up a lot when people have been talking about this. I know Slow-Mo on Scumcast, you guys had a great conversation on that. But real quick, because I do want to go to the live chat real quick. It's Sean Rasheed with the awesome $2 super chat. Thank you, sir. Says PS5 is 10.2 teraflops and Xbox is 12. Is Sony okay with that? That's who knows? Maybe they are.
They haven't officially said.
Yeah, I mean, we don't. Yeah, we officially don't know anything too with regards to Sony. I mean, there's that rumor 10. I heard 10.5.
Yeah, I heard something similar too.
Yeah, all that stuff is like I don't know if I believe the 10.2 or 10.5 or whatever for PS5. I don't think we know really much of anything outside of what like Mark Cerny has actually told us.
Yeah.
So far,
the only thing that we can officially that anyone officially knows is like the interviews that Jim Ryan have done and the Wired interviews that Mark Cerny has done, and those are the only real official specs that anyone has ever heard.
Yeah. So. But it's interesting from the game thing, like for the like I heard you say fragment the market, and then you talked about game performance. My assumption is, at least in terms of game performance, you would probably have a similar situation as you do with PCs. Like we all have different GPUs. Mooch, you have a 2080 Ti, right? You're probably going to push higher frames, higher textures in certain games than I can with my 2070, right? And so forth. Like, Forte's got a 1080 Ti, same thing with him. So it's probably going to scale based on hardware. That's my, at least, again, I'm not a game developer. That would be my assumption of how
I hope so.
would perform. Now, on the flip side, I mean, we do see games, like you said, the disparity between the S and the X, and I don't think we're going to have that much of it. I don't think the disparities will be that much different from, the Anaconda to the Lockhart, but, we do see that. We do see there are games now that run like shit on the S compared to the Xbox One X. So
not even next gen yet.
Well, the rumors though, Enrique, to kind of go against what you're saying there is, first of all, you're talking about 4K gaming to 1440p or 1080p depending, and also yes, it will be a next generation CPU, but not the CPU that's in the Anaconda. So it may be that same delta that we're experiencing between the X and the S. That's the thing about it, and I think that's where Jeremy scratching his head right now. You heard Forte's stance earlier. I don't think it's that detrimental. I wouldn't make a big thing of it. I think it's just odd, to be honest with you, because here's the thing. So let's put everything in perspective here for a quick second without using numbers, because Slow-Mo said it himself. We don't know. Jeremy said we don't know. So you have an Anaconda that's hypothetically the most powerful. Then you have a PS5 coming in just under that. Then you have a Lockhart at under that. So what's the sweet? When people say, well, there's this is too hot, this is too cold, and this was just right? The PS5 is kind of that happy medium. Plus, you have to look at next generation. Next generation is not as cut and dry as I have an extra T-flop that you don't have. Next generation is going to bring all of our accessories, all of our games. Mm-hmm. So if you have a PlayStation gamer right now that is he's a power hound. He loves the power crown, loves all this and that. Says, oh, maybe I'll go to Xbox. Xbox says 12 teraflops, and PlayStation comes out with 11 or 10.7, whatever it is. Okay. They have 200 games in their PlayStation library, 5, 6, 7 PlayStation controllers, a couple of the PlayStation headsets, all these other accessories that they bought. Maybe they have the camera, maybe they have the PSVR. These things are all coming with them. This is not as cut and dry as I have an extra T-flop, I'm going to the other team. That was last generation's mentality with the stopgap. There's no more stopgap. So now everything you've invested in from 2013 till today, this very moment, is coming with you. That's an investment that you're not going to want to leave behind for an extra T-flop. Okay, the other thing that comes down to it is that we heard, Windows Central, and I read the article, but if I'm wrong, please do correct me. It said around 12. Okay, now when you're in the media, you love clickbait, you love to put things out there. If it was 12.7, 12.5, they would have said over 12. They said around 12. Now, I'm playing devil's advocate. That to me tells me it's a little under 12.
So Mooch, what I'm reading the article, it says Anaconda, however, destroys everything else with 12 teraflops of raw power.
Okay, I saw an article that said around 12. Maybe it wasn't Windows Central. That's why I said it. So if it wasn't, I stand corrected. But I saw around 12. So what I'm saying, whether it be 12 or around 11.7 to 12, we're splitting hairs now. So who cares? Let's say 12. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. So 12 is the Anaconda and a 10.7. Both machines are doing 4K 60. Okay? That's what really matters to the next consumer. Everyone's buying 4K TVs. 4K 60, boom, done. That's covered on both ends. the extra teraflop, that's really not going to matter to the casuals when they have to leave, right? If you're a PlayStation gamer and you're a casual, you have 40 games, 50 games, and 2 controllers, and you know that those come with you. Are you going to leave all that behind for 1.3 teraflops more on the Xbox? Probably not. Plus, you're also talking about a possibility now, if we're going to talk rumor and speculation, that the Xbox Anaconda could be $599 compared to the $499 for PS5. So now you're talking about a $100 differential. So all of this stuff combined leads me to believe, you're probably saying, well, Mooch, where are you going with all this? Where I'm going with this is where we are today is exactly where we're going to be 1 year after next console's launch. PlayStation is still taking the lead because everybody's just going to follow where they are and continue down the path that they are. There's not enough of a delta. There's not enough of a delta coming from Xbox with 1.3 teraflop advantage to make me or anybody else that's in the PlayStation world say, bad example of me, I'm going to get a Scarlett. But I'm saying like other people might not make that jump. So then you also have the shaky, groundy uncertainty of Xbox's first-party games. We don't know what they're doing. They haven't showed us anything. The only thing we've really seen is Everwild. And if you don't like Sea of Thieves on the sea, you're probably not going to like Sea of Thieves on the land.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
That's right, or that. So my point is that that's a shaky category as well. So you take shaky first-party. We don't know what's coming out down the path yet. We take a 1.3 teraflop, probably $100 more, maybe a little bit more than the PS5. It goes back to that whole nursery rhyme, right? You've got little too hot, little too cold, right? That's the hot is your Scarlett, the too cold is your Lockhart. What's in the middle? That's a sweet spot. PS5. That's what I'm saying. So it depends on how you look at it, and that's what I'm saying. So it's when you look at what's going on in this past week and everybody going, wow, there's a lot of momentum for Xbox. I think it's a lot of great momentum for podcasting and for articles written, but I don't know if it's a lot of momentum for the consumer.
Well, I think I will say this. I think they are, again, ultimately it's going to come down to games. I mean, that's what it always comes down to, right? And so I do think that they're heading in the right direction. Now, whether or not the investments in studios pans out for them, we're gonna have to wait and see. We're not gonna know the answer to that.
So Ricky,
for another,
let me ask you. I'm playing devil's advocate for benefit of the podcast. Yeah. When you say they're going down the right alley and they're doing the right moves, you just took the first biggest stepping stone and you just kiboshed it. You said, well, I don't really know what they're doing with first party. So if the games are out, what is it that they're doing that's the best? Great. What's the alley they're going down that's so great?
Well, what I mean is that they obviously they addressed the biggest what I thought was the biggest issue they had internally, lack of first party. Like they didn't have the studios, the internal support. They had a few, they shut down Lionhead, they shut down what was the other one?
That's still to be seen though, honestly.
Yeah, I mean they shut down Lionhead, they canceled games. So what I'm saying is they went out and they addressed what we said was the biggest shortcoming that they had in terms of first party studios. So now
I swear to God, if they tell me to wait till E3 again, I'll be pissed off.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's what I mean by I think they've, in that regard, they're kind of heading in the right direction because they addressed those issues, those shortcomings they had with first party. Now, whether or not that pans out, that's a different story. We don't know. We don't know if those games, if they're going to be good, if they're going to release, these big AAA bangers. We don't know that. I mean, we won't find out until, next console generation for maybe the next year or two. So,
well, I mean, but let me ask this. I mean, do you think that they should do a Lockhart?
I think as far as the hardcore is concerned,
I would say no. I mean, I don't know why you would do that. I mean, to me, it's like if you're going to do that, do it after the console's kind of been established for 2 years or whatever the case is.
Jeremy, let me ask you this question. Doesn't the Lockhart already exist? It's called the Xbox One X.
Sure does.
Yeah, but it's bound by that garbage CPU.
It does not matter, bro.
It matters.
No, it
doesn't. I think it's a level of FOMO. I think it's all about it's fear of missing out. People. They're gonna want the new hotness. So you throw. They know that the Xbox One is done. I don't know. All of a sudden, they see the next generation Xbox at a cheap price point. Forte there having to explain the difference between the Lockhart and the Anaconda.
I don't care about explaining.
I just think
finish your statement.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm saying I don't care about explaining because that's my job to do. Explain. My problem with this whole situation is I don't get why they want to do it. It's like Moose just like we were just been saying. Sony, they won the most important generation a console manufacturer can make. It's the generation where everybody is switching over to digital and all your stuff is coming with you. So you already got an uphill climb to do. And yes, Microsoft has done a lot of different things. They have addressed a lot of shortcomings with their system, but it still has a lot to be desired and waiting for this stuff to come out. I just feel like when a person goes out and buys a brand new system, it's completely different when it was the 360. The 360, when you went from the core version to the elite version, was a hard drive difference. Now you're talking about performance differences. And I'm sorry, if I'm going to upgrade to a brand new system, I don't want the lesser end of a brand new system. And I just feel like that's just not the message you want to put out there. So you're going to go out and buy a brand new system that's not even as capable as the top end system.
And don't forget it. It won't have a physical drive either. So
and it supposedly won't have a physical drive too. I mean, it's just like the difference between, like, people always talk about the phone comparison. It's just like the difference between a 11 Pro and the 11 Pro and then the 11. The only difference is the screen. It has the same processor, but it has a different extra camera. But performance-wise, it's the same. You're just paying for a screen difference. That's it. And another camera.
It's clear that the Lockhart, they're going for the casual market. They saw the success that the United Kingdom had this past Black Friday with selling the SAD edition, and that went well. But the problem is that you might as well put a big sticker on the Lockhart that says this is not for the hardcore. And, the problem with that is that you get home, and if, let's say you're a casual gamer and you had an S, right? And then you get home and you find out that, first of all, it takes away your 4K Blu-ray capability. You're going from 1080p to 1440p. And basically you're still going to retain, I mean, you'll be at 60 frames, but here's the other thing that I think Slow-Mo was kind of alluding to earlier, but I don't know if necessarily, this is what I've heard from a lot of people, tell me if I'm wrong, but casual gamers don't care about frames. Like a lot of my friends that play Fortnite that are casual, like, I'm like, well, but it's 60 frames, and they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, they don't care. No idea what they don't care, right?
Look, man, you're talking about how hardcore they basically run the narrative on, that type of stuff. Would you say that the hardcore has basically said that the Xbox One X was a worthworthy buy? Was it worth your buy of an Xbox One X?
Depends on how much you like Red Dead Redemption 2.
Okay, I'll give you
because that's the only game that really kind of put out the power.
That's the problem I have, because overall I feel like the X hasn't even hit anywhere near the surface of what it can do because of being held back by the original hardware.
It was well over a year and a half ago that I said on Crossfire, before the Lockhart even was, or maybe it was even before that, I said, I thought Microsoft was in a great situation. I said, here's the deal. We've got a situation right now where, what was it, Gears 4, not 5, but Gears 4, when they made the enhancements to it for the X, right? It got 4K 60 or 1080p 60 or 4K 30. I said, this is great. I said, they've got an ace under their sleeve here in the X, because the X is going to be their low tier, and by that time all the components in the X are going to be dirt cheap by 2020, right? Yep. So you can make the X like a $250, $299 console that's playing. Lockhart's going to completely confuse everybody, get everybody just kind of messed up a little bit. Like, there's just no reason for it.
Mooch, just real quick. I want to play devil's advocate at Mooch.
Yeah.
And actually, no, this actually relates to this. Is...
Hey, Ricky, before you go, I gotta drop, guys.
Oh yeah, no doubt. All right, man.
All right,
we'll catch you later.
All right, catch you guys later. Jeremy, nice meeting you, man.
Later, bro.
All right, peace out.
All
right. Yeah. So Elika Speak says laptops don't come in different performance SKUs? Like, he's saying, yeah, laptops come in different SKUs. No issue there. What do you say to that? And that's the argument that I keep hearing. Well, cell phones, have different SKUs, but like I've always argued, well, those aren't really necessarily always apples to apples comparisons, because some consumer goods are more tangible than others, meaning that you can see and hold them and see the difference.
Let me answer the question. Cell phones are the ultimate. Like that's not a casual or a hardcore buy anymore. Cell phones are a necessity. They've almost become the way refrigerators are in your home, right? So there's refrigerators right now that have TV screens on your door. There's also some refrigerators that don't even have an ice maker on the door. So, but everybody has a refrigerator, right? So everybody has a cell phone. So whether they have the iPhone 11 Pro Max, it's $1,000, or they got the free LG one with a 2-year contract that doesn't even have barely a camera that's got 1 megapixel on it. My point being is that those are bad examples. This is a situation where gaming is not a necessity, okay, for casuals. So when they're going out there, it's not like they have to buy one. Where a phone you have, like there's people who use it, right? Even guys, if you don't believe me, think about your grandparents, right? I don't even like having this thing in my hand, but I have one, right? But your grandparents, I don't even like gaming. Well, they don't have an Xbox or a PlayStation. So they don't need to make that purchase. The point of the matter, so the phones and the refrigerators and the necessities, you got to kind of take, and laptops and PCs, you got to take that right out of the equation. We need those things in today's society.
Yeah,
but when it comes to gaming, you don't.
Yeah, and to get to his point about laptops, well, yeah, they do come in different SKUs. And does the casual market that are looking for laptops know what those different SKUs are?
No.
Not at all. And they don't care. They get whatever is cost affordable.
That's right.
For them, and that's it. They don't care if it's, I heard the X4Z 26S is the best model. They don't know anything about that.
But Slow-Mo, isn't that the argument that Microsoft's making though? With Lockhart?
With Lockhart, yeah.
Like here's
look.
No. Oh God, go ahead.
Lockhart. The only way that they're going to be able to sell Lockhart is they have to present it as like this is PC gaming. You're upgrading your CPU, you're upgrading your GPU. You know what I mean? These are the benefits of why you're doing this. And, they have to have an excellent price point with it. If they don't have all those elements all together, then there's no reason to have the Lockhart, because, with Game Pass and all the games being released across generations, with no more generations, like Microsoft has said, what reason do people who just bought an X this past holiday season, or even last year, what reason do they have to jump over if, the first couple of years, those same games are going to be available on the console that they have currently?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I keep going back to with this whole situation. It comes down, it's like everything's going forward. So why would you, unless you're telling me you're discontinuing the X, literally when the Lockhart and the Anaconda come out, why are we even talking why are we even talking about a Lockhart? Because I just feel like you want to get everybody in at the higher price point, talk about the benefits of what that higher price point is, because that's going to be the one that's going to show off all your games. You're not going to show your games off on the Lockhart. You're going to show them off on the Anaconda, and then you're going to let people know that those games are still playable on your X. And if you want, and those people that didn't go out and get an X day one like we did, or in the first or second year, that is an upgrade option for them. Because guess what? Those people that play Call of Duty, Madden, and NBA, that's all they need. They just want something that's going to perform a little bit better for the games that they like to play. They don't have to go balls to the wall like everyone else. And that's the problem I have with it.
Let's see, Forte, here's the other thing. And shout out to Z Blackrider, huge fan, big fan of his as well. And he says if Lockhart's $299, it's a huge success. Here's where I disagree. The family of Xbox consoles are all going to work in harmony, especially for the first 12 to 24 months. So if Lockhart's $299, right, at 1440p, I can just go get an Xbox One S probably for $99 and play the same games.
It's not going to be that cheap, I don't think.
Whatever, $150. Yeah. Well, I know the Lockhart's not going to be $299. You're saying the Lockhart's not going to be $299. No, it's not.
No, not with that chipset. It's the same chipset as the Anaconda, just with a lower clock speed and
exactly.
So it's
I think it's 400.
SSD.
I think it's 400.
Yeah, you're right, because Anaconda's going to be 600.
Yeah, you're right. Forte, you are right, sir.
I don't know about 600.
I'm going to wear a T-shirt.
I don't know.
I'm going to wear a T-shirt for it.
He's right. $600, man. If they're talking like 2080 Ti, whatever.
It's not going to be a 20. We talked about this already.
It's
not going to perform like that.
It is going to be a 2080 Ti.
Stop saying that. It is not going to perform that way.
2080 Ti is a $1,200 card. Guys.
Come on, like this is a pipe.
Even if you're buying that, at like massive quantities,
this is a debate style crystal meth argument that like it's going to do anything near.
You want to put a gentleman's bet on this $699 slow-mo?
Oh, he's saying $699.
$699, not $699. $600.
I'm not putting a bet on anything.
Why? Yo, come on, let's put a gentleman's bet on $600.
Slow-mo, you don't sound confident.
You don't sound confident, bro.
Look,
you don't sound confident, Slow-mo.
It's Microsoft. Of course, I'm not confident. If they go out and do a $600 console and take an L like that, yeah, I can see Microsoft doing something.
I don't think it's taking an L like that. I think it's literally just doubling down on what you believe the system is worth.
Okay.
You spent $500 for a machine with a Kinect?
Let me explain to you why this is taking the L. And this is going to go back to what Enrique's question was about when I said like about laptops. People don't really know about SKUs. They just go buy whatever is affordable for them. That's a different.
Hey, wait, time out. Wait, real quick, slow-mo. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I want to go to a live chat. Elegant Speaks says, I want to address this because I think this is funny. He says, yeah, the Scorpio was going to be 700. We've heard this before.
Exactly.
Yeah, but no one said with Scorpio that it was going to be a 2080, GPU. No one came out and ever said that.
They said some very fantastical things about the Scorpio as well.
And none of us on this podcast said anything higher than $500.
We all said 500.
Yeah.
None of us said more than $500.
I think
this is I think high end. I think Phil Spencer's comments about making sure that they are in line,
price competitive.
Yeah, price competitive with PS5 is accurate to what they're looking at. I think they're going to say whatever Sony launches the PS5 at is where we're going to launch Anaconda at, and that they already have a price point set for the Lockhart that they know is going to be cheaper than the more premium consoles. My point about it's different with gamers than someone going out to buy a laptop is that gamers are very much, even casual gamers, somewhat are understanding what's going on in the ecosystem. They take cues from the hardcore gamer. Unlike someone who's buying a laptop, they ain't taking cues from their local IT guy. They just want to get a laptop. But casual gamers see what's going on with hardcore gamers. They hear things and then they go follow trends. That's why you see games like Spider-Man blow up. You see all the marketing for it. You got Jeremy. You guys did a great job, and then and then they say, "Oh wow, this game looks great," and then they hear their hardcore gaming friends talk about it. The word of mouth spreads. Now that game sells over 15 million easy. This is the kind of stuff that happens in the gaming market, and when everyone's going like, "Yeah, you don't want to get that Lockhart. That Lockhart is not the one that you're going to get like, that the greater performance on." People aren't going to go for it now.
Yeah.
When Enrique mentioned the debate we had on Scumcast last Saturday, and what my point wasn't that this was going to be like a huge super mistake in the sense that I don't think it's a great job. I think what they should have done instead of doing the Lockhart the way it's being rumored to do is that just do a diskless version of the Anaconda. Period. You want an Anaconda that doesn't have a disk drive, is a little bit cheaper, $50-$60 cheaper. Just do a different version of the same console, and then you're good. Like I don't see why you need to have it like that much. With 4 terabyte, 4 terabytes of GPU, whatever. That's it, terabytes, teraflops, but whatever. What my whole argument has been on why this is a bad idea is from the perspective of Microsoft and their developers. Like you are giving them, no matter how much these people out here trying to tell you it's not more work, you just flip a switch. That's not how game development is. Every single developer has their own game engine, or they're using Unreal, or they're using something else. And each of those game engines have a way of performing differently on different there's more work that has to be done. You can't go out there and say, oh, it's just flipping a switch, and you're not a game developer. You don't know what you're talking about. Sorry. I'm not a game developer, but I work in IT, and I know damn well there ain't no flip a switch when it comes to working, to coding, to doing all the kind of work that has to go into it. That's ridiculous.
And you know what? Let me just say this, Lamar, and while Jeremy's here, I do want to ask him because this is his sales world, right? Like the one thing that I think is going to hurt Lockhart more than anything is that Lockhart will be positioned on shelves with next generation consoles, and Lockhart will be missing the intricate 4K stamp. So you're going to see 4K all over Anaconda. You're going to see 4K all over PS5. And they're not going to be able to put that on the Lockhart. So that's another thing. So no disk drive, no 4K. Even a casual would come in who's looking for a good deal and go, well, I just bought a new 4K TV at Best Buy, so is this going to work with that? Well, it is, but it's 1080p, 1440p. Oh, what about those? Well, the Anaconda, which is really, really powerful, is $599, and that's 4K. And the other one, PS5, is $499. Let me get the PS5. Right? See, that's the hot, too cold, and just right in the middle. So now Slow-Mo's right, that's the old 1980s, 1990s mentality where Nintendo launched every console at a loss and made their money on software. Now, Microsoft is kind of losing their shirt a bit right now with Game Pass. They're doing well with it, but Game Pass is not making the dividends that it needs to make at this point for the output in their games catalog and what their R&D is doing. Is Microsoft going to be okay losing $100 per SKU? I don't think so. That's why they're offering the Lockhart. So I do think Anaconda is going to come in on retail shelves. I can't say $100 more, but I'll say more than the PS5. And that's going to hurt Lockhart more than anything. Is it's not going to have that stamp of 4K. 4K is no longer a buzzword. Now it's kind of a mantra in your living room.
But Mooch, could they still do that though? Because even with the PlayStation 4 Pro, that doesn't do all games like, let's say, native 4K. And it
doesn't do any games native 4K.
Yeah,
hey now.
Well, I mean, Jeremy, we got.
I told you
that's a handful.
We are now the
fanboy
podcast.
Gotta ask Jeremy that one. Yeah, and
Sony markets that as I forget what they unique for. I forget what they call
dynamic
4K.
Yeah,
you know. So I mean, it
still looks great. I mean, it looks amazing.
No one's arguing it looks great, but I mean, it's not native 4K. It's not as powerful as the X, Jeremy, but
but those games on the X don't look like the games on that Pro.
Oh, got
fired.
Come on, Forte.
Unfortunately, if you're an Xbox fan and you want great graphics, get Game Pass and go to PC.
Facts.
And even then, you're not. Okay, look. Let me.
Are you talking about Halo Reach?
I'm not talking about Halo Reach. Halo Reach is going to look amazing. What I'm talking about is that something that I was going to bring up about how I've seen developers who like character artists talk about this whole thing and say things like, well, scaling up and down using the dev kit to scale up and down between Anaconda and Lockhart isn't going to change the fact that due to if you're trying to do a photorealistic visual or a photorealistic art director, say something like Uncharted 4, right? If you want to try to do something like that, if you cannot do what you could do, like if it's not possible to do that on the lower SKU as it was in the higher SKU, there's some work that you have to do in undoing some of the detail there. That's extra work that has to be done. And so what could possibly happen is that developers just choose to, we just going to put enough detail that works for the lower SKU, and that's it. So that there's not that additional work. And yeah, resolution and the effects, anthropomorphic, whatever you want to call it, that we see on PC all the time. Yeah, you can work on that, moving that up and down and really make it work. But some of the actual work these developers have to do on the games, that stuff just can't be, it can't be automated. It can't be a flip of a switch. They actually have to do more work to make that actually perform as well on a lower SKU. And so when it comes down to it, I think that's not good for a developer to say, hey, yeah, we're doing all this. And we even heard from Jason Schreier that he heard from developers that they don't like the idea of a Lockhart because they don't want to do that additional work.
And it goes back to the idea of fragmenting the market. I mean, not only from a consumer perspective, but from a developer perspective. It's why develop for this lower system, especially if it doesn't have the marketing, the sales numbers to justify making this. And that's the same, and again, you get hampered by the lower system, and that's what worries me with the potential of a lock cart. You're going to be Xbox is going to find themselves hampered by this lower system,
especially in first party. Because if you think about it, I'm working at Obsidian. I'm working on Grounded, Honey, I Shrunk the Negro, right? And so I'm working on that game, and I'm being told I gotta get this game that's pretty much going to be a next gen, close to next gen game. I think it's coming out it's probably going to come out before the next systems, but whatever. But it's going to be playable on these higher systems. We gotta also make it work on the Xbox One S. I'm not surprised on why that game looks the way it looks. Cartoony look, a different kind of art direction, a different kind of,
I've heard people argue that too,
aesthetic.
Forte or slow-mo.
Yeah, I mean,
of course, argument,
because the way it looks, you don't need a ton of polys for these character models. So you can actually have it look like, run on a lower system, and then we can have it run at 4K and 60 frames per second on the Anaconda, easy, yeah. But at least it's playable on the S,
Look, man, I'm just waiting for the patch on PS5 for God of War to run at 4K 60 frames per second. That's all I'm waiting for.
Oh my God. That's gonna be amazing.
It's the moment that patch drops.
I'm reinstalling and I'm playing it again.
Mm-hmm. The moment that patch drops.
Sounds about right.
Well, I mean, it's gonna be interesting. I mean, this whole thing is, at least for me, is fascinating. 2 SKUs, and then Sony's coming out with just the PlayStation 5, and its sole focus will be the PlayStation 5. So, we'll be interested to see how it works out.
Especially as it gets closer, it'll be very interesting to see what marketing approach both sides take. Will Microsoft very much double down on the whole idea of it being a gaming console? Or will it be service-driven TV?
I think it's going to be.
TV.
I think it's going to be.
It won't be that.
No, it's not going to be that. But I think the focus obviously is going to be Game Pass and things like that. Yeah, and xCloud. I think that's going to be the focus for them. So, the other interesting thing too is before we wrap up, guys, and we talked about this I think before we went live. Mooch had asked me, "Hey, Enrique, did you hear the new rumor?" And I thought he was talking about Cyberpunk 2077 on Game Pass. And no. We have another rumor about Master Chief Collection, which did very well on Steam, I might add. Possibly going to Nintendo Switch.
You can make it over there.
That game would do well on that platform. I don't have any doubt about it. I mean, people. It's funny. Like I saw people like kind of surprised that that Master Chief Collection and Reach did well on Steam. I wasn't surprised at all. I mean, that's
not at all
the first time the complete collection has been on Steam. First time that Reach has been on Steam. I mean, other Halo games have been on Steam before, but this is the first time where you got the entire Master Chief Collection and Reach on Steam. So I wasn't surprised by how well it did. And this is kind of
It's still in the top 10 games played on Steam right now.
Oh wow, yeah.
As of right now, it still is.
Yeah, and I gotta say, guys, if this is true, I don't know what to say about this. I'm almost speechless. Like I don't know what this means for Microsoft moving forward. I mean,
doesn't mean anything.
I guess this plays into, like Phil said,
exactly
bringing down those walls. This is and that games as a service or
it's
that
par for the course
service-based model,
right?
Yeah.
I got to be honest with you. So the Cyberpunk day and date, no, that's not happening in Game Pass. I don't think so. But the Halo going to Switch, I gotta say, I saw all these things that come out, the rumors, and I usually read them and I kind of get a chuckle, and then I move on. I read that one and there was no chuckle. I was like, yep. If it's not true that it's happening now, it's happening very soon. So yeah.
But again, Microsoft's already made their money on it. So them them putting those games on the Switch or any place else is just gravy on top of what they already have. But I mean, if they tried that shit with, Halo Infinite, that's a different story completely.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was thinking too. Is like you got all these people out here, especially with the the news of MLB and how people were jumping off bridges over the last 2 days because of a game going to another platform. I just like, even with Horizon, I just feel like once the game's been out for so long, why do you care if someone else gets the chance to enjoy that game?
It don't matter at that point. It really don't.
It doesn't matter.
That goes full circle back to the whole Game Pass thing, which is what I said this a long time ago, and I'll say it again tonight. I truly believe it. It's just something I believe in. They should have definitely allowed first party games in the Game Pass 3 to 6 months after release if you wanted to be aggressive, 12 months after release if you wanted to be a bit stagnant and reap the benefits. Why they did it day and date, I still don't understand, because what Forte just said makes sense. Why? There's no reason to get upset about Horizon Zero. Horizon Zero Dawn can go wherever it wants at this point. It already did its damage. It did what it was going to do on PlayStation. PlayStation reaped the benefits of it. Now they're just going to reap more benefits of it. Halo Master Chief Collection, put it everywhere. Put it on iPhones. Put it on your refrigerator screen. I don't care where you put it. It doesn't matter at this point. Like you just said, Jeremy, it doesn't make a difference. They made their money on it. Now this is all gravy. So it doesn't really matter. The question at hand is that, Microsoft deciding to go day and date with PC, like with Gears, it was PC, Windows PC, it was Steam, and it was Game Pass, and it was Xbox. Do I think that the Switch could handle Halo Infinite? No. So I don't, no. I mean, it's not going to go there, but you're going to see a lot of Microsoft titles going over to Nintendo's platform, the older ones.
Yeah, and the thing, like, especially when it came to, like, we were talking about Sony earlier, with them doing stuff like this, even Jeremy even touched on it. He's talking about, Jim Ryan says we're gonna explore those possibilities when it makes sense. And I think honestly that's the one thing people were missing on the whole MLB thing. That game makes more sense to be multi-plat than any other games they have.
Madden or FIFA or anything else.
Yeah, because, well, think about it. The majority, the people that would play that game, it's an American sport, American pastime. Most of 60% of the PlayStation's user base is not even American. It's from other countries, where you're only getting a slice of that pie on PlayStation, and then the rest of the people on Xbox can't even enjoy it. So you're literally cutting out half the sales. Right. So that's why I think Jim Ryan, when he said that, he was like, yeah, if it makes sense, we'll do it. And then I think it was just the whole necessary evil of renewing contracts and stuff. And this is something they decided that they wanted to do. And plus, I think this is the first time that people really just forgot that 2K was a part of this contract last time when they did it, because that's when they had baseball as a franchise they made on their system, on their platform too. As of the last 4 or 5 years, it's only been Sony. So to make up those marketing dollars, that money that they were missing, that MLB probably wanted, they're saying, hey, it will be in our best interest if we want to keep it, put it everywhere, and we still got exclusive rights to the game. We just make the money off the game, and I think that's why. Yeah. Overall, so I think people jumping off bridges about that just don't understand how it works. But if you're going to do it for a game like that, I can only imagine if other games do it. Like you just said, if you're talking about Last of Us 2 going to a different platform day and date, then you might want to start screaming for the hills, but not something like MLB.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a great point, Forte. Yeah, I mean, this is gonna be interesting. I mean, this thing is still, it's still rumored, but I'm sure I can't talk. I'm getting tired. I'm sure we're going to hear more in the next coming days or so. But gentlemen, on that note, we're going to go ahead and wrap up this episode of BRAP. I want to give a big shout out to all the panel members, everyone in the live chat, guys. Thank you again for coming out and hanging out with us. Great chat as always. Want to give a big shout out to Jeremy, our special guest, our Sony. What's your official title? Is it? Like
retail representative is what they call. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. Our Sony retail rep for joining us, and Forte, thank you for setting that up. Hey, Jeremy, we got to get you back on, man. It was really cool to talk video games with you, man, and kind of get a little bit of inside perspective into
whenever you guys want, man. You just Forte knows how to get in touch with me.
Awesome, man. Yeah, we'll definitely have to get you back on, but definitely appreciate having you on. And Mooch, man, finally, great to have you back on the show, man. Love having you on. Great conversation as always. Yeah, man.
This is an outstanding show. Great show by everybody on the panel. Good to have Jeremy here. Just an outstanding time. Thanks for having me on here. We got Crossfire Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern time. The Mooch 78 on YouTube. Check it out. And look forward to my return on Brap, buddy. We'll work that out.
Yeah, man. Definitely love to get you back on sooner than later, man, because it's crazy, man. Like, just when I think that, we're getting towards the end of the year and maybe gaming use is going to slow down, it's like, yeah, it doesn't seem to happen.
Never quiet in this business.
No, definitely not. So
I'm sure Crossfire is going to be a little crazy once Death Stranding wins tomorrow, right?
Oh, yes.
Oh, boy.
Yes.
Somebody's gonna get triggered. Absolutely.
Make sure you got Kratos on point for it.
I tell you what, man, I cannot wait. I'm just gonna grab my popcorn, sit back in my gaming PC chair.
I can't wait
and watch Twitter burn.
I can't wait for that.
Because people are gonna lose their minds. Oh yeah, people are. And you know what the sad thing about it is, I almost feel like it's become this anti-Kojima thing, and not so much about the game. It's more about him as opposed to the game. Like, judge the game on its own merits, right? Whether or not you like the developer, that's irrelevant, I think, to be frank. I mean, look, I'm not a fan of Gearbox and I forget his Randy Pitchford. Because frankly, he's a dick. He doesn't treat his employees well. But that didn't stop me from liking Borderlands 3.
Right.
So anyhow.
Look, there's news reports every day at how bad Amazon treats their employees, and everybody's like, Amazon 24-hour shipping.
Next day delivery.
Everybody right now is like, I hate Amazon, and everybody's got a smiling box on their porch.
Oh, the smiling boxes are everywhere. Mooch, in my neighborhood, every day, that damn truck's in my neighborhood, man.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's my whole point. Everybody says that stuff. You have to kind of judge them by their service and the thing. Like, the game itself, I'm telling you, like, I happen to like the game. So take my vote and throw it right out the window. But I'd have absolutely no problem with Death Stranding winning Game of the Year. It's very easily, it's my number one or number two for this year.
Yeah.
I got my baby in the jar yesterday, so nice. I installed the game. So I am going to play it because I can't be a fraud.
Well, I thought you already played it.
What? I played a part of it. I didn't play it.
I specifically
I played 2 hours. I said I played the
game, and you said you played the game. It justified you crushing the game and being critical. Lord. I know what I heard for you.
You never heard me be critical. I told you the fact that you got to walk up the street and have to make sure you're paying attention to your basically your standings is kind of ridiculous, and you can't just play the game.
This is what you said. You said before that you played the game. Now you say
I wanted it right.
I got my baby, so now I'm going to finally play this game. It sounds very contradictory, sir. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, here we go. I want to see that in writing, sir.
Forte, that
Jeremy,
sounds.
Listen, I know Jeremy can't get us PS5s, but can he get us Death Stranding controllers? Is what I want.
Oh yes.
Man. I need to know why I finally released that thing separately, please.
Look, here's the thing. I work for the company, and I didn't get a baby in a jar. How fucked up is that?
That is messed up.
That is messed up. We had a nice conversation about that at the store. Like, what's that all about?
Yeah. So, sorry guys, no love here. So.
I will say this. I don't want to go off on a tangent here because I'm trying to wrap up the show. But I have played every nominee for Game of the Year by the Game Awards.
You played Smash Brothers?
Yes. I play Smash Brothers.
And it's going to win.
I do think Smash Brothers. I wouldn't be surprised if Smash Brothers would win. All joking aside,
Smash Brothers is going to win.
I think Resident Evil's going to win.
I think that's the game that most people.
Remake?
I hope Death Stranding wins. Because I want to see.
Just for the fun.
Yeah, I want to.
Just for the fun. Yeah.
But I do think, honestly, I actually feel like Resident Evil will win it.
Yeah,
and I think remakes are looked at differently than remasters because there's just more work that goes into it. And Capcom put their foot in that game. They did a great job. So I think
it's true.
Yeah. Hey guys, real quick, let's do this. Let's pick our since we're talking about the Game of the Year nominees for the Game Awards, which go live tomorrow night. Let's go with everyone's picks real quick. Jeremy, what's your Game of the Year, man? What are you gonna pick out of the nominees?
It's gonna sound like I'm a really bad rep because I'll be honest, I haven't started Death Stranding yet, so I can't I can't make the argument. But Control was nominated, right?
Yes, it was.
Yes, I'm playing that right now. I am loving that game. I love
Control.
So.
Wow, IGN gave Control its Game of the Year for 2019.
Yeah.
All right, so we got one for Control. Mooch, I think I already know.
I just want to let Jeremy know that his Christmas bonus has now been turned into the Jelly of the Month Club. It's the gift that keeps on giving, Jeremy, all year long. So just remember that for that comment. I will give it to Death Stranding. I'd like to say I beat it. I'm 50 hours in, and I'm on chapter 6 or chapter 7. I love it. Believe it or not, sad story here. I've platinumed Control, but 3 of the trophies won't pop. And I'm very, very, very disgruntled about that. But Control was my number 2. So now I'm going to go ahead and focus everything onto Death Stranding. So Death Stranding is definitely my vote for Game of the Year.
All right. Slow-mo.
Oh, yeah. Resident Evil 2 remake, I think is
good pick.
Yeah, it's a good pick.
My sleeper is Death Stranding. I'm actually going to be in a party with Luca and some other friends, like just praying to God, please just let Death Stranding win this so I can just watch the internet explode. But I really do think Resident Evil 2 is going to win it. I think it deserves it. It's a beautiful game. The facial animations are amazing.
The
light. No one has a bad thing to say about this game. The only people who have a bad thing to say about this game are these little new age millennials. I know I'm about to sound really old, okay, boomer old, but these new age millennials just like, how come Mr. X won't die? Like, no, look, man, he's scary. Yeah, like I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. I think the game deserves the win though. So,
all right, awesome, man. Let's go with B Money.
Smash all day.
All right, Smash Brothers. All right,
complete package, man.
No, I think it's gonna win. I think it's gonna win. Man. I think it's one game everyone can kind of, rally behind. So yeah, that makes sense. Forte.
He just took it from me, Smash, because I think Smash has been the most consistent thing this whole year, going back to last year, and this is the first time that the Smash community has been pretty much in sync when it comes to a game that they loved outside of Melee, because Brawl was up and down. And I just love the atmosphere around that game. Like when that game launched, it was epic. When the DLC got launched, it was even more crazier. And that game still sells out every time we get it into the store, and we barely keep it in stock. So the people have spoken for Smash. If I had to say like a hopeful that I hope wins, that could win, I love Sakurai. It's the first
Sekiro.
Bloodborne style game I love to death.
This is the second time he's called it Sakurai.
I don't know what Sakurai
is. That
I'm going off of what the developer said in a stream, sir. The developer called it Sakurai. The developer called it Sakurai, sir. So that's what the name of the game is.
It's Sakurai's hand puppet, and it's all
whatever. I just think that game.
Sakurai sounds like an alternative to Splenda.
Or you want to call it Sekiro? Then we'll just call it Sekiro. We'll make it that way. But I just think that game, it was very, very well done, and I think the pacing of that game was really good, and I really enjoyed that game. So that's one that I know probably won't win, but that's the hopeful that I think should come out of that.
All right, I'm gonna go with Death Stranding. There you have it.
Jesus, you just said that Smash was going to win, so
no, I mean I think it will win, but if I'm picking Death Stranding. So. As my game of the year, it's just what, guys, I've played all the game of the year nominees, and that's the one game that really stands on its 2 legs, and it's at this
literally
point
stands on its 2 legs.
Literally, yeah, exactly. It's one of those games that and I just finished playing Star Wars Fallen Order, just beat that on PC, and I can tell you, good game, not a great game. I have played that game numerous.
I agree with that.
Numerous times
through it all the way.
I think had that game released early in the console generation, I would feel differently about it. But at this point in the generation, towards the end, I played so many games now, and so now that benchmark's higher, right? That there's a higher level of expectation to wow me, and Death Stranding did that because it stands alone as one of the more unique and just wow experiences that I've had, in a long time. So,
you want to know where I agree with you, but I guess I could play devil's advocate a little bit on that. It's pretty much like how I felt about Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah.
When that game came out, I didn't know what to expect from Guerrilla with it because they're predominantly a first-person shooter company. And when they made that game, I can see why people thought that could have been Game of the Year that year, just because it was such a departure and it was the first takedown when it came to that type of game they were making. As much as I do agree that Star Wars did have some issues and some stuff that needed to be worked out, Respawn did an amazing job for their first time doing a game that was not a first-person shooter, completely different than what they ever done before. And I feel like that by itself gives it a little bit more weight in that Game of the Year conversation, because it's not like you're making a shooter and you are known for shooters and you let us down in that front. You brought something that we didn't expect to be as good as it was. And you kind of lived up to the hype, because as much as, people still say that it was still a good experience, it's still a game that most people will say you should go out and play.
Fallen Order.
That's why I think about it.
Fallen Order didn't get nominated because it has anorexic Wookiees. That's why those Wookiees, they look
shameful.
Help. I feel like Sally Struthers needs to do a commercial.
We gotta send
standing
49
in front
cents
of
a day.
them. Yes, send them $1, just $1 a day. To feed these poor Wookiees. My God, look at their legs. They skip leg day. They skip leg day every day. They need to eat something. Please, just $1 a day. Yeah, like my personal Game of the Year is Fire Emblem Three Houses. I was a little upset it didn't
off
get nominated.
The list that they provided, sir. That could be.
I said my personal.
Oh, okay,
my
personal
good. Okay,
yeah, you're right.
That's my personal.
You're right.
Too.
Yeah, that's my personal too. If I would have played it, probably.
Yeah. All right.
Fraud.
See?
Fraud. If I would have played it, sir.
I know. You don't play anything. Like
I do.
Spider-Man.
I do play games, Slow-mo. I just play games.
Have you beat Spider-Man yet?
No.
No. Wow. We need to have a Forte intervention podcast. We got to have a conversation. Forte.
Look, okay, no, listen. So
Forte on the stand.
Listen, man. Okay, Jeremy, you can be a test.
Wait.
You used to work for GameStop, so you know this. Did you value games as much as you valued them if you bought them, or they were given to you?
Damn.
See, go ahead and answer the question, bro, because you know where I'm coming from.
So if I was given a game, it as much as I might be excited for the game, it does tend to fall further and further down the list of things that I'll get to eventually. Dude, listen, the only game I only bought 2 games, well, 3 games this whole generation, really, like that I put money into. Destiny was one of them. I actually bought a Call of Duty because somebody talked me into it, and I still didn't play that. And I played God of War. I actually went out and bought the collector's edition of that, and they actually gave me that. And Call of Duty and God of War are the only 2 games I actually played because I wanted to play them.
I can see it now in 2022. Forte is going to send out a tweet, and he's going to be like, guys, Spider-Man is amazing. Not Spider-Man 2. Not the sequel. The first one. It's amazing and beautiful on PS5 backwards compatible.
You're right. I'm gonna play it on PS5
game been all my life. I don't know. It's been on your console.
You're right. I'm gonna play it on PS5.
Gentlemen.
Frames per second and 120. I'm gonna play it there. You're right.
Yeah, gentlemen. We got to wrap up the show because we're going on 3 hours. Again. Thank you to everyone in the panel or the live chat. We are out. Remember to catch Crossfire. What time, Mooch? On Friday?
7 p.m. Eastern time.
7 p.m. Eastern time. All right, guys.
Be there, be square.
We'll see you next Wednesday. Peace.
All right, everybody. Peace.
Peace.
Peace. Oh man.